All right, ETM Hotep, and I believe we are live. All right, so ETM Hotep, want to welcome everyone hanging out on this Wednesday, our Divine Words Wednesday, and you're hanging out with the Seshew Ma'ani Medew Netcher. And tonight we will be just having a casual conversation, and hopefully anyone could chime in and tune in. Who's tuned in can chime in on the chat or even invite into the hangout to kind of discuss what's transpired for the 2016, especially as regards to ancient Egypt and the language or culture. All right, so we'll kind of focus our scope of a conversation on that, but kind of walk through this year. It's been a long year, but we want to think back to the beginning and then walk our way through the year up until the present. But before we jump in, we want to start off with a recitation of the offering formula. So I'll pass the mic to Imikeraku.
All right, Dua, and I think my screen is being shared, so I'll just make sure that everybody can see it before I proceed. Yeah, can everyone see my screen?
To you.
All right, good. Okay, so yes, what we do here normally is we start all our sessions with the offering formula, and what you're looking at on the top, that is the standard of offering formula, and at the top section that is written in Seshew Netcher, what is known as hieroglyphic, and then the middle part, that is the transliteration, and it is written using dark critical marks, as you can see here, and the bottom part, that is obviously the translation in English. And what I'm going to be reading is this transliteration. And just before I do that, I'll just like to make a disclaimer that the pronunciation that you'll be hearing me use is tentative. It's something that is known as Egyptology speak. It it allows us to kind of like discuss the language. So it is not historically accurate per se, but it gives us a chance to discuss the language. So what I'm going to do is recite that, and if you're watching along, you're free to recite it along with me. And also, one of the things I'd like to add is that I would be including the name of the ancestors, which is known as Aku, as you see here. But in that section, you can insert the name of anyone that you know that has passed along that you'd like to include in this offering formula. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Hotep Dinesu, Wasir Nebjedu, Necha Neb Abju, DF Peret Kheru, Tihinket Ka Aped Shes Menket, Ket Nebet Neferet Wabed Anket Neche Im, Inkani Imahu, Aku Makiru. And the translation, or what it means, is an offering the king gives Osiris, Lord of Judu, great God, Lord of Abydos, so that he may give verbal offerings in beer, bread, ox, fowl, alabaster, and linen, everything good and pure on which a god lives, for the car of the revered ones, the ancestors, justified. And so I will pass the mic back to Ujao.
All right, Iker, excellent, and Dua. So, well, also before we continue move forward, everyone can introduce themselves. Let everyone know for the archive and those who are watching tuned in now who we have in the building. And I'll start with myself. My name is Wujau Meneb Erimaat, and I welcome everyone and thank say dua to everyone who's tuned in. I know there's a lot of other hangouts that are going on simultaneously with ours right now. So yeah, thank you. And pass the mic to the next person. Everyone can introduce themselves.
ETM Hotep, this is Damian Damo Everly. Like I said, welcome in peace. Welcome back to the family, especially those who've been riding with us the whole year. Be sure to chime in questions in the chat or any reminders or any topics y'all want to bring up throughout the year. Again, this is Damo. Welcome in peace.
ETM Hotep, this your brother June. Just want to say welcome and peace. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the show. Hotep.
Hotep, it's your brother Satep and Rob Mariana. Hope y'all enjoy the show tonight. We're gonna review this year and let y'all know what's up. So, Hotep, thanks for watching.
ETM Hotep, Sen Jehudi. Peace to everybody watching. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the Mature Zone as we review the year.
Hotep, Reni Imiker Aku, and yeah, appreciate you guys tuning in, and hopefully you enjoy the show. Hotep.
ETM Hotel family, this is Sin Sean. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Glad to be back in full effect. Everyone have a good one. We're about to enjoy ourselves as well.
All right, and I think we have one other, Brother Chris. Maybe he's away from his computer. Oh, there he is.
Yeah. Welcome in peace. Sin Chris. Enjoy the show.
All right. So with everyone introduce themselves, I want to say dua for those who are tuned in. We got a couple of people to give a shout out. We have Sonette or Sister Monica, Brother Tony, Hotep, Brother Aku Kromanti. Matter of fact, brother is looking forward to the class. So I want to welcome the brother to our show. And let's see, Sarah Jahuti and Sister Lisa. All right, so ETM Hotep to everyone. And yeah, so tonight, we just want to review, we're coming out to the closing of the year. I believe this is the last Wednesday of the year. This weekend is the New Year weekend, New Year's Eve and all of that good stuff. So we just want to kind of have a conversation about what we can remember about this year, what some of the highlights that have taken place this year as it relates to Egypt and the culture, because, it's a whole lot of things that's been going on on social media. So we want to kind of keep it focused on what we do. So, well, with that, we just kind of kick it and start from January and march our way through the year. And by the way, if feel free to comment. We keep our eyes on the comments. If you could think of something that's taken place, that's a highlight, mention it. And also, if you have any questions for us about anything that we've done this year, or period, we'll welcome any kind of questions that we can address. So we're gonna walk from January all the way up until the present, and obviously the present, our conversation will probably close on the false claims about the Seshew Netcher not being deciphered. So, we definitely want to touch on that, but that'll probably be what we'll end up touching on. All right. So with that, I'll open the floor. Anybody can get us started.
Well, let me see if anybody can remember, and everybody can chime in. I vaguely remember about 11 months ago, we had something, the Comedic War Conference. And I remember Ang doing a presentation there. I remember they had a panel, they had people at a table. But I know that was a big thing that really started the year off. Anybody else remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Till.
Till, that was a good event. It gave people an opportunity to, I guess I would say, rub elbows or sharpen skills.
Was that the one Zion went to?
Like, Nan, what were some of the things that took place? Like, what's some of the highlights at the event? If anybody remembers. because a lot of things are kind of jumbled up in my mind. I'm trying to think of, I'm going way back.
Joe, you didn't go to that one. You didn't have to. You didn't have to transliterate or translate anything at that one.
No, so I'm a little foggy on that. The one that you may be talking about, where I was at, was last September 2015, where we had an event here in Atlanta. That was a science and technology with Professor Small, Sarasudin Seti, Unk gave a presentation, and House of Consciousness crew was there in the audience.
Magi was in there.
Yeah, Magi. Matter of fact, that's where I met Satep and Ra for the first time.
Yep. I didn't think he was gonna recognize me either. He's like, "What's up?" I'm like, "Damn."
Yeah,
I was trying to sneak up on you.
Yeah, yep. So it was good. It was a good vibe. If that's what you're talking about, but that's 2015 though.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, the War Conference, I remember Ankh was on stage, Black Panther was on stage, and Ngozi was doing a little presenting. And if I'm correct, is that the one where Sister Dr. Maya did the
stems? That's the stems. STEM. That was
okay.
A science and technology conference.
Yeah, I wasn't present at that one.
That was, I believe, that's first time being presented.
Yeah, and I think Sister Maya did the Ashango bone, or was talking about the bone at that conference.
Okay. Now I do remember a conference. Okay, let me ask you. There was a conference, and I remember it not being called a debate. It was a conference, and it was quite a few people like on the panel that had a opportunity to speak. And I remember there's a brother that had a cape on. Is this the same event you're talking about?
Yep, exactly. That's the same one. That's the same one. It had all the different.
I think is that the Evolution Conference right there?
No, that was the World Conference, but it was like I think it was like the whole weekend, because one day they had the big discussion and then the panel.
All right, like I said, some of these things are a little blur, but I do remember that. I do remember that event where a few people took the stage, and I remember the brother with the cape. I believe he was with the Nation of Five, Gods on Earth, 5%ers.
Yeah. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one that he wore the cape and he was a little extra pseudo and all of that. Yeah,
but that wasn't comedic. That wasn't the Comedic War Conference, though. I think that was the Evolution Conference, because everybody was supposed to get it.
That was Evolution.
Yeah, because everybody was supposed to get a thesis on what they thought evolution. Like however you feel evolution is, bring your information and come bring it to the table.
You're right. You are sure right.
Yeah, because I remember that the reason I keep mentioning that brother is because one, the cape kind of stood out to me, but I remember he was going back trillions of years and speaking about galactic origins and things. So yeah, that kind of stood out. So that was this year as well. But when was that? Was that this year?
That was early. I think that was like February. I think that was like February.
Yeah, when I go to the tube, it marks it as 11 months back.
Okay. All right, so that's about February. That's right.
What's that about? Yeah, about February, March.
So then we had that. So the Comedic War Conference, though. So what was the date on that then? Or maybe that was 2015.
It was I think that was the ending year. That was in December of last year. Because that's when the guy that hadn't been teaching but a couple of months was introduced to the community, and that's when the bumping conversations of what we get up to this point, ending this particular year with the present situation, the claims being made by those guys. So yeah, a year ago, ending that year, and then we transitioned into the evolution. So it was the comedic and then the evolution, and that was the first time people really got to see that guy's young Pharaoh's face.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you keep saying that guy. I'm like, hey, we not, it's like, it's nothing. So you talking about Young Pharaoh? Okay, so that was when Young Pharaoh basically made his debut. And I think that's some footage where the brothers are outside and they're talking about they brought up the concept of evolution and stuff. That was outside. It was Sarah Seti, Young Pharaoh, Uncle Keck, Black Panther, Ben,
And Gozy.
Yeah,
right?
the brother in Gozy was out there.
Right. Okay, so that was late last year. So that was around December.
And our brother Sanjetti too. Shout out to Sanjetti. He was out there too.
Okay, so that closed out last year. So then it led up to what we were just talking about with the Evolution Conference.
Led up to a whole year of pseudo.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But you know what though? This year I know this year started off with evolution being a heavy topic. And I know on social media, especially Facebook, the idea about evolution was pounded into the ground. And I think throughout that whole duration of time, like right now, evolution is not really a hot topic, but pretty much the first half of this year, it was a hot topic. It was the the major thing that was talked about. And one thing people got the chance to see or learn is what an actual theory is versus what it's not. Also, people got a chance to learn that there is no evolution scientist or biogeneticist or what have you that will say that man came from monkeys. Although that's one thing that's been said a whole lot prior to that. You still got people that will still say it today, but a lot of people got a chance to straighten that out and clarify that. So I think that was good. Took a long time for people to catch on, but more and more people caught on to that. But like I said, it kind of tapered off in the last part of this year where the topics shift, and see, so this year though, if you notice, even 2015, because 2015 basically started off with the Kemet trial, I believe, or maybe that's even a year before that. I don't even know. It's been going on so long, but we had Kemet on trial one year, and with Kemet on trial, the topic about Kemet, and I remember that it even became Kemet on trial because of a disagreement or beefs going on between one of the Hebrew Israelite camps or folks with brother Shaka Ahmos and brother Polite, and then it turned into them against the so-called Kemetics. That was this title that was created for all those people, everybody who deals with Kemet. They created this title called the Kemetics, and I still to this day I'm like, really don't need to be using that term, but that's what it turned out to be. So it was actually a disagreement between three people that turned into this big issue of Kemet being on trial. And then they started off with the homosexual stuff, and that basically 6 months out of that year, it was all about Kemet is homosexual and this and that. Then that died down. But the reason why I'm bringing that up and going backwards is because if you notice that what we're calling this conscious community, the topic of discussion is controlled by beefs. I don't know if y'all noticed that the topic of discussion has been controlled by problematic or beefs or confrontations, and not so much organically. These topics are coming up organically and based on a need to know or area of focus. So I just wanted to make that observation. That's what I see. And this year the same way. Like I said, the first 6 months of this year, evolution. The last 6 months, or definitely the last 3 months for sure, whether the Seshew Netcher has been deciphered or not. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but obviously what we're calling the conscious community is being controlled. The conversations are being controlled. It's being controlled. So somebody's creating the narrative and are being the pace car. They are setting the pace on what we discuss and so on and so forth as a community, not individuals per se. But I don't know what your thoughts on that.
I say, yeah, I say that's where we come in. I mean, honestly, that's where we did came in. That's when we released our second video in February, top off the year, towards a better understanding of the Paradigm Haru. And then in April, that's when we started Divine Words Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so our what we're doing is a result of that. I mean, we were going to do what we do anyway, but I know that a lot of the topics that we pick are a result of what's taking place on social media. And that's why I said I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, and it may not be even something to judge good or bad. It's just we're rolling with the hot topic because this is what we do in terms of
Yeah, just
Egypt and
something that
language.
took place.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. Whereas you almost need that negative chaos in order for groups like us to come in and bring that
Right.
stability.
But now what I do know that's not beneficial is when people get too used to learning in conflict, because the learning process is it shouldn't be done in a hostile environment. And I don't, whether it's physically hostile or mentally hostile, the learning is not, it's not conducive for that. That's how come when we grow up and everybody goes to elementary to grade school, one thing that they try to pound in our heads is discipline and being quiet, paying attention, don't play, no horseplay in the classroom, no running around the classroom, no talking in the classroom, so on and so forth. Because you have to create a good environment for learning. And I noticed that a lot of people will learn indirectly through conflict. And that's because, the ego is in the way. And some people can't stand to be corrected or taught by someone that they see either as beneath them or their equal. Because a lot of people don't mind being taught by someone that is, high on a pedestal, because it gives them an excuse to be humble and to learn. But then if they view somebody on their equal footing or somebody beneath them, then it's no way, it's not happening. So they get in a conflict with that individual, and through the conflict is how they learn. And it's a slower process, and it's just not conducive really for learning. I've noticed that a lot throughout these years, but especially this year, and it's on social media. So these events that we're talking about seem to be a result of that, where it's a conflict, because I don't see what's being called debates as debates. I come from a background of debating on an amateur level in college, and I've seen professional debates as a paralegal in the court system, in the justice system, and then street debate, debating doctrine and stuff. I did that as well. So I've seen three different areas of debating going on, and what we see at these different events is not debating. I wouldn't consider that debating. So it's like conflict, and people are arguing. As far as the rules, because debating is a set of rules. Like you can't claim to play basketball if you're going to take the basketball and just run down the court and don't dribble. Or you dribble and then you pick it up, you run, dribble, pick it up and run. You can't call that basketball because it's against the rules. Now, if somebody does it, the referee will blow the whistle, and it's a violation. So the game is regulated by rules. But when you don't have rules, or you don't follow the rules, and all the players are just not following the rules, and it's a disregard for the rules, you can't call that basketball. So whatever something is in terms of these events, it is that thing based on the rules. Rules make it what it is. So if you don't have these debating rules in place, then we've got to stop calling these things debates. Not to say that it shouldn't take place at all. I'm just saying we need to call it what it is. Stop these misnomers. Stop, mislabeling things. But anyway, that's just my take on what these events are. And I've been pretty vocal on that.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm done.
Okay. I just wanted to add that also regarding what we call the debates. You can also tell by the topics that the people choose to engage in. They're not really topics that are progressive in any way, and they're not really topics that will be termed as debates as well, because those are just things that just shows the level, our level of knowledge within the community. And that's I know I'm skipping over when we're discussing topics like what we have now, or even on the comedic warfare about homosexuality and all of that stuff. I mean, those are not topics that somebody anybody in academia would actually take time to sit and research and discuss and call them as debates. They should be topics that actually are progressive in the field of studies that are being that are being held in those debates or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, you know. We really, really have to stop falsely labeling things. We have to accurately describe things, because if you don't describe something accurately, then it's almost like in the medical field. It's like misdiagnosing someone. You can't be very helpful as a doctor if you misdiagnose someone. It's just that simple. So when we identify things that take place, and we describe it, we're supposed to describe it accurately, and that's a very African thing. In ancient times, a lot of importance was placed on what something is, and to assign it properties. Like, you observe the properties of a thing, and you name it, or you observe it and you describe it and you name it based on all of that. And we had these more accurate descriptions of different things, and we've kind of gotten away from that as a whole, where we don't mind misnomers. And I always use the same one all the time with driveway and parkway as examples of misnomers, and we get kind of numb to it, and we don't mind it because we kind of get used to it. But a driveway is a place where the word drive, you're in motion, but a driveway is where you actually park your car. And a parkway has the word park in it, where you stay still, but a parkway is where you drive your car. So it's like the opposite. And we'll say this every day, all day, and don't even think about it. Don't mind it. And what that does through time, very, very slowly, it numbs us to being very precise and very accurate. And I always use that example, but it's tons of examples that we go through. Some of them that we are aware of, some of them that, go over our heads, and we get manipulated to use them. So by us not doing it, we don't have an accurate assessment of the realities around us. So we get caught up in it. So now we get caught up in the ebb and flow of the so-called conscious community, and all of these topics that come up being called debates and stuff like that. Because debating is good. In terms of academia and scholarship, debates, a lot of information, the body of knowledge is expanded by way of debates and critiques, peer review, critiques, arguments, debates, because a lot of time, like, to the average person, when you say argument, you think of a negative, kind of have a negative connotation, like, stop arguing. Arguing is bad. Stop arguing. But in scholarship, arguments are simply your stance as opposed to another stance. And you two people can use the exact same data, and you query the data based on your questions, based on your methods. You can walk away with different end results. And those end results can be in conflict with one another. And then you bring forth your arguments for why you come up with those results. And then a debate ensues. And then through the debate, you find out who has the superior method for a particular issue, particular question, so on and so forth. And then you hash it out. The word debate actually means to beat down and hammer out. That's what the word debate actually means. And that's exactly what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to beat things down to the last compound, you know, and find out what makes it tick, what's factual, what's accurate and not. But now what we're calling debates now is just a bunch of arguments, personality worshiping. There's no rules. Now, the reason why we have rules for debates is so that this can be accomplished. So when you abandon the rules, then what's the purpose of the debates? Then it gets into the sidebar stuff with the question of, is it just a payday? Is it just hustling? Is it just hustling the communities? You know what I mean? It's like the new hustle, you know, create an argument and make some money off of it. So people are making money off of conflict. And I've actually saw somebody make a pretty good Facebook post about that. But anyway, so I don't want to rant on about that. But we still at February.
Yeah, the year we start off with Rosenberg and Polite.
Oh, right.
Then we went to Shaka's book pamphlet. We had that big issue that was early February.
Right. Yep. That's true. Yeah.
I guess it was a ceasefire, and he had Shaka had broke the ceasefire with the comments he made.
Oh yeah, with the book. Yeah, that was kind of in and out. I mean, that kind of like came and went. But I do remember Brother Polite's debate with Rosenberg, and I remember it being hyped up until the point that it took place. And I didn't see it. I didn't attend. I didn't see the whole thing. I saw highlights, maybe clips. And I heard that he had a guy come in there, bow down to his feet and things. And, you know, so this kind of brings up the point of what the Amara Squad is accused of, is being boring. You know, you have this claim that Amara Squad is boring and that other people are not boring. They're more, you know, they're more favored to look at or watch or whatever. So what does that tell us? So before I give my little commentary about that, what does that tell you or any of you all when people come like that and they say that this is boring versus this is not boring? What does that say?
For me, this is Damo. I guess after a while, lets me kind of know where their mindset is at, as far as, you know, whether they're looking for entertainment or to be educated on the subject, or to learn, or to build on the subject. And now I can kind of make the distinction a little better, but I can't say I could do that a few years back. I was probably one of the ones looking for entertainment a few years back, but now I changed my methodology in a lot of things that I do and study and research. So for me, I can kind of separate myself from it. So for now, when I hear somebody say it, I kind of be like, okay, well, they might be looking for entertainment. That's just me.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else got some thoughts on that?
Yeah, my take on it is hush your mouth. My take on it is I've sat through boring church sermons. I've sat through boring college lectures. You know, so I got this theory that people do what they want to do. And if you, as far as with the lectures and the information, if the information is worthwhile, you're going to sit there and soak it in and go through what it takes to get the information. As far as entertainment, I think that that's just a reflection of society and the whole rural world atmosphere, or the whole hip hop beef atmosphere. I just think that's pretty much a reflection of the overall society looking to be entertained.
Okay. Well, see, I look at it like I think it's detrimental to us as a whole. The way the path that we're traveling, I believe it's detrimental, and if it doesn't change, then you know we're gonna have bigger problems later on. You know, and the reason why I say that is because you know when you blur the lines between education and entertainment, to so much so to the point where people are going to somewhere to be educated, but yet they're expected to be entertained, so much so to where they say negative things about the actual teaching or this, information being given, then we have a problem. So somewhere along the lines, the wall has been chipped away and taken down, and now the two environments are converging, and people can't make heads or tails out of which one. So you have the audience of more of a classroom type of audience, and then you have the more of a party, being entertained and being highly stimulated kind of audience. Now they're blending and mixing together, and what happens is, no matter what field that you look at, you always have a higher number of people that want to be entertained than people who want to be taught and sit still and just taught. So just by that default setting alone, when these two environments collide or come together, the ones who want to be entertained are going to outshadow the ones who want to be taught. So that's who we're seeing, that's who we're hearing. So like when you watch these YouTube videos and you pay attention to the chat room, the chat part, you'll see a lot more people will be on the side of I want to be entertained, and along with that, you got instigation going on. People will instigate beefs, instigate fights. People will bring up old stuff, rehash old stuff, and just try to push buttons and things because they want it to be lively and entertaining. And because it's a larger number of those kind of people mixing in with the people who want to learn and know, what that all entails, then it gets an impression that everybody just wants to be entertained because the numbers are greater. So I'm saying that I think that that's detrimental. So at some point we gotta build that wall back up and let people know, like, hey, it is okay to be entertained. Like nobody's against being entertained, laughing, joking, cracking jokes, whatever. But you have to be careful about mixing the two. Like I said, I go back to the example in school. Like, I don't know if all these people remember being in school or if they ever went to school. But I know when I was in school, you had to sit there and listen to the teacher. You got to be tentative. Like you got a grade in behavior. I remember part of your grade was behavior and what was it? Work habits or something. Some grade for work habits or behavior or whatever. And that was based on how tentatively you listened to the teacher. You weren't disruptive in class, and it was separated. We sit in class, listen to the teacher. Then we have recess. Recess, you cut up. Recess, you go all out. You play football, play kickball, play all that good stuff, joan on each other, crack on each other. All that kind of stuff took place at recess. When the bell rang, boom, you come back in class, to sit still, and you are back in student mode. So I think we need that back as adults in this whatever community that people want to call it. I call it a social community. In this social community, we need to really get that back and start laying down these lines to demarcate things. Because they get disrupted by those who want entertainment. And people don't understand how to divide the two. It's all good to be entertained. And it goes back to what I said earlier. Call it what it is. Because I see some of these people do what they do and they call it scholarship, but it's really entertainment, but we get into that. And I'm specifically speaking about the last 3 months with the issue of whether Seshew or Netcher has been deciphered or not. But yeah, so that's kind of my thing. I think it's detrimental with that. But I bring it up, in light of the events that took place this year. It seems like it's getting worse and worse. So, but I did say we keep our eyes on the chat. So I want to kind of go over to the chat and see some comments because I always like. I was
gonna say from there we went into was it Dr. Arlene Bay with the certificate. Oh, but I'm a Raw Squad and Sarah Student Study did a program in Oakland, or supposed to do a program in Oakland with Smash in April.
Yeah, that took place. Oh, you said Arlene Bay. You mean Ali Muhammad, Dr. Ali Muhammad?
Yeah, Ali Muhammad. Sorry about that.
Right. Yeah, that was a little bump in the road where, the brother, that was actually Uncle Keck and Ali being on the couch, and the subject was about evolution. And I believe the brother held up his degree, but there was some discrepancies with it, and then that kind of blew up, and that was a big topic for a while. That lasted for about a month, and it's crazy if you monitor if you monitor if we
People
had
get a people get a pass. Sorry about that. They get a pass pretty quickly, don't they?
yeah. But I was saying it's interesting that if you monitor all these things that go on, like how we're talking about it, and it's always good to do that. I don't know, like if you all feel the same way about documentaries, but there's certain documentaries that will highlight um things that transpire in a chronological order, and those documentaries are always good. Like I won't forget a documentary about something as simple as censorship in America, censorship in the United States, and I forgot the name of the documentary, but I know it dealt with censorship. It dealt with uh not so much nudity, but censorship in general. But they discussed like bathing suits, women's bathing suits, and they went from decade to decade or every 5 years, and they kind of showed the style of bathing suit that women would wear. And if you look at the very first bathing suit, or way you go backwards in time, the bathing suit was like a whole outfit. It was like no skin shown, and it was like you wearing your pants and the shirt in the water. And then a decade later, then they got shorter. They started showing the knees and the thighs, but everything up top was kind of covered up. It was one piece, this big old bulky thing. And then a decade after that, they showed it got skimpier. And so long story short, by the time you come to the present, they showed it from being a full body suit to just a toothpick, called a G-string and all that stuff. And so you can see it evolution. You can see this very slow process of change that takes place. But while you're living it in real time, you don't see these changes take place. It's only when you take one moment in time and you check it with a different moment in time, and the further that distance is from each other, the bigger the change you could see. And that's what evolution is about. So, biological evolution as well. So, but you see this social evolution. So these kind of documentaries. So I bring that up because even as we're talking about what we're talking about, we can kind of chronologically talk about these events, and you can kind of gauge the social community that we see and how things are going. Like you brought up the degree and how that lasts for a month, and then how people are given a pass, and then it's a new hot topic and things. And I guarantee you, if we really studied this and took it serious, we could start coming away with some conclusions on the psychology of this social community, and kind of get some accurate diagnosis. I know I see the sister Naya, as well as brother CTEP. I know you have a background studies in psychology, but we need to take some psychological evaluations of this community so that we can start to kind of come up with things to inject in the community that will help benefit all of us, but I'm looking at the comments. I'm just trying to keep up with what people are saying, because I don't like the interactions. Brother Tony says the craziness was necessary this year. Everybody played their cards and the truth reigned supreme. That's true. That's true. It's almost like what you call it, the alcohol syndrome. When you get enough alcohol up in somebody, then truth come out. So
Call it that courage juice.
yeah, courage juice. So I'm just trying to keep up with the comments. Conversation narratives are being dictated by conflicts of beats. Yes, Sister Naya said that. That's what we were talking about. And yeah, and Monica said that she's learned from it. Yeah, we can learn from all of this. All of these are experiences we can learn from. I always say, I remember the commercial. You could learn a lot from a dummy, and it's just true. You can learn a lot from an intellectual and a dumb, what we would call a dummy, because from a dummy you could learn what not to do, you know, what not to be like, and from an intellectual or somebody who is upright and upstanding, you can learn what to do and everything. So we could learn from both sides. Let me see. I'm just going down. I mean, if y'all see any comments, let me know too. I'm just kind of scrolling through.
Yeah, I know this year Dr. Ma'at, she scientifically kind of put a hole through the whole theory about the black woman being God, and that has some kind of some fallout still happening from it as a result.
Yeah, I wanted to add that. I think because I think it was talking about what was happening through the beginning parts of the year, and I think it was in February that we got to see Dr. Ma'at with her presentation on Sarnetta, and that was one of those really important stuff that was injected into the conscious community that unfortunately didn't get to last. But yeah, we can definitely have to give props to Dr. Ma'at. So, and I think that was in the beginning of February as well. So that's one of the highlights or high points I remember.
It was. That was a pretty good build by her. I think that she stood tall during the moment where the two people that were debating, kind of like got lost in the sauce, so to say, because her information was like that good. But yeah, that was great.
Yeah, and I remember she took some hits from that because people misconstrued some of the things she was saying. Some people walked away thinking that she was putting the black woman down, and that wasn't her intent or in her presentation. It was more so saying, well, hey, if you're going to say the black woman is God, what are the reasons you're saying it for? And based on the reasons people were saying the black woman is God, she was dispelling those myths, the fact that women can reproduce and have sperm and this and that. That's what she addressed. So she was basically taking away from people the reasons, the unfounded pseudo reasons of why they were calling the black woman God, so they could hit the reset button and reevaluate what they mean by that. So it's okay, the black woman can be God, but have valid reasons for saying so. And one of her points was, if you're going to say that about the black woman, then we're going to say the same thing about the black man. So the black woman and the black man are gods, period. And so that was what I got out of it, based on listening to the points and everything, so, and she took some hits from that. And I know there was a little bit brewing up between her and the brother Polite on that issue, and I think that trying to be massaged into a debate, but it didn't manifest that way. So we never saw a debate between Dr. Ma'at and Polite. But it goes to show how conflicts almost like blood in the water to sharks. It's like, as soon as you smell blood, then boom, here comes the instigators. They're coming, they want to heighten it up and create an event out of it, and that's what I meant earlier by, it seems like this community is ruled by conflict, or it's dictated by conflict. And we got a lot of drama going on right now. I guess we'll get to that.
We also go into March, where we had the Mossy clan pretty much retiring. They came before Columbus, addressing some of the misinformation in there. But the highlight of March was young Pharaoh and Marcus Blade. Young Marcus, they met on 125th Street.
Okay, yeah, I didn't kind of follow that too closely.
Yeah, well, I know this was an attempt to initially have those two debate, which probably would have been a much better idea.
Right. Yeah, because Marcus is still in school, so he's young. I forgot how old he is. I believe he was 17, 18, somewhere around there. So yeah, that would have been good. And yeah, the brother's sharp. Logic and reasoning is very important. The ability to discern, judge, is very, very important. And I think that that's lacking, and we need to emphasize that more. you know. So it's good and refreshing to see the young teenagers with this ability to logically to see the logical sequence of arguments, the logical sequence of claims and information, and how it's discussed, how it's described, you know, to be able to reason it out and articulate yourself in form of an argument for or against. You know, these are the kind of things we need to instill in the youth. So young Marcus does represent that, and I think that I don't think that's highlighted enough, you know, because he's not out there just cursing everybody out and, you know, all that other stuff. And it goes back to what we were saying, entertainment versus what do you call it? Teaching or whatever. Entertainment is always going to win. You know, always going to win. You got more people at a basketball game or a football game than you would at somebody's lecture, hands down. Imagine outside of the church, you got these mega churches. So excluding that, because you got what, Frederick Price, you got TD Jakes, you got the person even here in Georgia, Atlanta. I think two of them in Atlanta, Creflo Dollar and forgot the other guy's name.
Eddie Long still in business?
Yeah, there he is. That's what you're talking about. That's what I was mentioning. Yeah. And they can pack. Their churches are huge. So besides that, a person who's teaching on a subject, a lecturer or whatever, they, you know, you don't even fathom them packing out Madison Square Gardens or a football stadium or whatever the case is. But the moment you get a singer in there, tickets sold and everything like that, you packing the house, packing the sports arena or whatever. So it's just a default that we like to be entertained. And I think overall, us as a people, you know, the bumps and bruises of living drives us to want to escape it and be entertained, you know. And I think that's why it's so lopsided, because living life is just a struggle. It's just kind of hard to a lot of people. And so we want to escape it by being entertained and something that's going to take our minds off of, you know, the day-to-day stuff, you know. And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's an imbalancement going on right now.
That sound like what Rome did, you know what I'm saying, with his people when they created the Colosseum and the games. It was to get the people's mind off of day-to-day troubles and stuff like that. So that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and that's it. And see, even in Africa, in the Nile Valley, there were a lot of festivals. You know, we got the word Heb, and we know the Heb is everywhere. Festivals for everything. You know, any excuse to toss down some Egyptian beer and everything. So I think all societies do it, but I believe that there needs to be a balance to it. And I think that some societies focused on make sure that it's balanced. But we're living in a time where it's very lopsided. It's real lopsided. We can see it, you know. We can see this.
Yeah, Dr. Amos Wilson talks about this in falsification of the African consciousness.
Okay. What's one of the what's a highlight that he said?
Pretty much what you're saying as far as the different things we come up with to take away from addressing what's really our ills. One thing, like you say, entertainment, drugs, you know, different things like that. He said we pretty much put those in place to avoid dealing with the real life issues. So what you're saying is pretty much accurate, and he's in agreement with it. But I definitely encourage that reading. Once again, it's Dr. Amos Wilson's The Falsification of the African Consciousness. I guess it's pretty much stating that we're thinking we're becoming conscious of our awareness and what's going on, but it's a false sense of consciousness, you know, being put in front of us, such as the entertainment. You know, so we're rocking out with SETI, we consider ourselves conscious, but this is a false sense of consciousness if it's going to include the behavior or the character, the ISFET or what have you. If it's going to include that, then that's a false sense of consciousness. And so the book goes into how to handle those and how to be aware of those.
Okay, yeah. Amos Wilson is definitely an author that you should have all of his books on your shelf, and not just your shelf, but in your head. So, definitely, especially the Blueprint for Black Power. But yeah, I I'm looking at the comments as well. So everybody's making some good points. I was trying to scroll up. I saw.
While you're doing that, I had a quick question.
Mhm.
Because I know you mentioned something about labeling and having, there being like a clear distinction between what is scholarship and what is entertainment. But because we've also noticed that there are some people who would be swayed into getting into real scholarship or studying what it is, but they might be lost within the entertainment section of things. And so I was just asking if you're talking about having a clear distinction between those two, how would we go about having some kind of a bridge, between those two, and not just having it completely separated, but just for those who might have to be, when people get into when people say like I'm woke and whatever, get into the conscious community, there is I think it's the entertainment that kind of draws people first, and then some people obviously graduate from that and start seeking real information and all of that. So what do you say about about having like some kind of sort of a bridge between that? Is that healthy, or and how would that, how would people go about that instead of just completely separating the two?
Well, I mean, see, there's some universal principles that are at play, and we need to learn them, and know how to apply them, because, as you were saying that, so let's just take for example, see, like how you said, entertainment initially draws people. So let's take what you said and let's overlay it in a different area of life. Take any given relationship of people, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, et cetera, et cetera. What initially attracts people together is the looks, and this is why people do what they do. This is why people go out their way to make sure their shape ups are tight, get nice haircut, wear the flyest clothes, and this and that, because we understand that there's a principle of there's steps to this. The initial steps is to attract. Even in the animal kingdom, you have different animals. Usually the male species will be very, very colorful and perform different dances and things to initially attract. So there's that initiated attraction. So in what we're talking about, the initial attraction is the entertainment. But what happens is like a relationship. So I'm going back to the relationship thing. Once you see somebody that's attractive and you like the way they look, now you're supposed to switch and see, okay, well, where is the head at? Where are their minds at? Okay, they look good, but where are their heads? They got a head on their shoulders, you know, what's going on? So now you want to look deeper. So what I'm saying is that this is a natural process. So entertainment is natural, and it shouldn't be knocked. It shouldn't be like, oh no, stop doing that. What I'm saying is that what we need to do is to understand these principles. Once you get attracted by the entertainment, you have to have the ability to look further and to adjust and to go to that next level, just like a relationship. Because if you rely on looks, then you're not going to be in a relationship long, because looks change. Something could happen, whatever. Whatever the case is, you gotta stand on more solid ground. So there's always that initial stage, but then you got to go to stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. So in this kind of stuff, we're talking about the entertainment, the even the beefs. It attracts people because it gets people's attention, you know. But then once you get the attention, then what? So that's why we have to have something in place, and people have to understand to make that adjustment. Just like in business. So now I'm going over to business. In business, there's you hear people say, there's business and then there's pleasure, and you don't mix the two all the time. Like initially, like if you look at any business seminar, the advertisement, even for business seminars or whatever, anything dealing with business or economics or whatever the case is, in the advertisement, they want to make it exciting. They want to make it attractive. So they'll have some kind of gimmicky stuff in some kind of infomercial or promo ad or whatever the case is. But then once you get there, you know you're gonna sit tight and learn some stuff, and you know how to flip the switch. So we just have to have this understanding. So we can't fight it. We got to dance with it. So it's not about separating the two. It's about knowing how to deal with the two at the appropriate times. You know, no two things can occupy the same space at the same time. We just have to know how to fold over into one and the other. And that's what we don't have. We don't have that. People don't do that. They get caught up into the beefs and get attracted by the entertainment. Then they come to these events and they still want to be entertained for the entire 4 hours. Like, no, sit down, pull out a pen and pad, and now you're here to learn. You know, we can have intermission, and we got a singer or somebody gonna perform for you. Then back to business. That's just it. We need this kind of discipline among us. You know, so I don't know if that kind of addressed what you were saying. I guess basically I'm saying we don't have to separate them. We just got to know how to deal with them and when one or the other should be at play. You know, that's pretty much how I'm saying. The same thing with relationships. I mean, I know people listen to what I'm saying. They understand that. You know, whether they're in a relationship now or past relationships, if you rely on looks, don't last. You go beyond looks. Looks is initial. That's the initial attraction. You know, you see somebody across the room, you're like, oh man, he or she is attractive. And then you play the courting game and whatnot. Then you want to find out what they're made of. You know, what you got going on in your head, you know. What morals do you stand on? What's your principles? What do you feel about this? What do you feel about politics? What do you feel about these issues, that issue? Then you could say, okay, yeah, this person's cool. I can deal with this person. But anyway, that's my take. So I don't know if anybody else got something to say about that.
Wow.
Yeah, but we need to have this discipline. And see, and it comes from a lack of a spiritual system in place. And I know a lot of people may have a problem with that word spiritual and spiritual system. But there are systems in place, especially in African communities, where a lot of the things that we see and we are discussing even right now, there are things in place to handle it, you know, to handle these things. And I just give a quick example. As a child, all children growing up, well, I ain't gonna say all because I won't be absolute like that, but most children growing up, they go through a stage at a certain point in their life. They go through a stage that we call the rebellious stage. And usually that will be between right when they get to that teen, 12, 13, 11, 12, 13, whatever the case is. But at some point, regardless of the age, just like puberty, at a certain age, you know, like little girls go through their start their cycles between the age of 9 and 12 or 13, whatever the case is, on average. But there's a window of this rebellious stage. So instead of trying to eliminate it out of existence, you have certain cultures that understand that natural phenomena, that natural thing that takes place. So they have something in place for it. They know how to dance with it and counter it or whatever, work with it to where it's nurtured properly. And then, you know, the child goes past that stage and so on and so forth. So with what we have going on here, we don't have a foundation. The African-American culture is, you know, it's not a very solid culture. Like it's not even just one monolithic thing either. So we really got to look into that. And a lot of our scholars, our elder scholars that are even passed away now or still alive now, writing books to try to plug it in. Antoine, you mentioned Amos Wilson. Excellent series of books that addresses some of this stuff. You have Claude Anderson out there on the West Coast. doing some books. You have Naheem Akbar writing and lecturing on some of these issues. And a lot of it, if you notice, a lot of it has to do with psychology. A lot of these authors, they have some kind of background in psychology or whatever. So that tells you. And remember, I said spiritual cultivation system or spiritual system, and psyche and spirit, they're connected there. What we're calling the spiritual, in a more scholarly arena, it would be psychology. Study of the mind, study of behavior, human behavior, and things like that. So anyway, trying to see what's going on in the comments. If you, like I said, if y'all see any comments you want to read or bring up, I'm just scrolling through. And I had before we went on the air, I saw that the Dagger Squad with Garfield and sister Monica were on the Sonetta's channel, and I glanced down at the views who were watching, and it was like only 188, or maybe between that and 200 people. And then I go over to Sarasun Seti. I think he was live, or maybe still live. I'm not sure. And he has like 1,700 people watching. And that speaks directly to what we're talking about when we're talking about the numbers and what people rather see. If we take statistics and numbers into account, it's always going to be that way. So if we expect something different, then we're just going to frustrate ourselves. So I think we need to be realistic about it and always realize that quality over quantity is always going to be a smaller number, period. And that's just how it is. But yeah, so we're supposed to be walking through the year. So what else we got going on? We said Dr. Ma'at, with the Black Woman is God thing. What came up after that?
When did that African band body thing pop up?
Oh yeah, that was late summer, or I remember it was kind of warm, still warm, so it was like late summer.
I mean, that might have been earlier in the year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that kind of that was a kind of big blow. That was a topic that was definitely discussed, and that's a serious topic. Anytime you talk about rape or molestation, that's always a serious topic in all communities, really. So that's nothing to play with. And so I don't know what the overall outcome of all of that was, but yeah, that kind of took up a lot of attention.
Something that didn't take a lot of attention, but pretty much important as well. I think sometime in April, I think we started our Divine Words Wednesday here.
Yep. Brother Chris had mentioned that, and Divine Words Wednesday. We have Freestyle Fridays.
Yeah, and I just wanted to just iterate, though I think we did talk about it, why we wanted to do the Divine Words Wednesdays, and it was just to walk people through the steps to reading. And I think one of the things that we always say on each and every episode is we want to show people, demonstrate that with time, anyone can, read the Medew Netcher and all of that. But and I'm just saying that in line with all the stuff that has been going on. Is guess some people still don't see that as a possibility. But that was one of the highlights for this year. And with the Divine Words Wednesdays, we wanted to give the people in the community a chance to see what can be done.
Now check that out. So that's good. But now, despite us doing that, look at the pushback. The pushback was that the Medew Netcher has not even been deciphered. So here you have a group of people, us, creating a weekly hangout, Divine Words Wednesday. And for those people who don't know, Divine Words is Medew Netcher, the phrase Medew Netcher. We're doing it. We're showing the method. We're walking through the method, the 4 steps in the method of transliterating and translating. We're walking through it, doing it every week. But despite that, there's a major thrust that the Seshew Medew Netcher has not been deciphered, and that speaks to the influence that somebody has over the next person. So here we are as a group. We don't get that many views, and whatnot. But then you have a person like Sarah Seti, who is conscious community, like a conscious community celebrity, and he's influential. So he says something, he reaches a lot more people than we possibly could right now. So then the tidal wave comes, the tidal wave of that claim. Seshew Medew Netcher or the Egyptian hieroglyphs have not been deciphered, but here we are, we're doing it. So it's like you get 2 people in a neighborhood that are driving a car, but the rest of the neighborhood don't drive. So then they're saying nobody could drive a car, but yet the whole time we've been driving a car. So that's the position we're in. We do this all the time, and yet people still made that claim. So for those of you who are listening, share. Anybody who mentions the Egyptian language or whatever, tell them to subscribe to our channel and to watch our videos in the archive and to keep up with what we do in real time. So they can see for themselves. And we welcome questions. We welcome people to ask questions about what we've said in the videos or whatever, or just in general. We did a hangout last night on the Amara Squad, myself and Unk, and there's a couple other people on the hangout, and it was like an impromptu hangout. But even in that hangout, we were like, bring your questions, like as far as the hot topic of the language the script not being deciphered and stuff. So we don't run from questions and everything. We invite all of that good stuff. But that's a good point, though. We started the Divine Words Wednesday.
Yeah, I just wanted to share my screen just so for those watching, you can see what we always say at the purpose of the Divine Words Wednesdays. So and I just wanted to read it again, just to kind of emphasize that point. And with our Divine Words Wednesdays, I don't know if my screen is sharing at this point.
To you, I got it locked on it.
Yeah. All right. With the Divine Words Wednesdays, the purpose of that particular weekly show is that our purpose is to give examples of how Seshew Medew Netcher is translated. In doing so, we also address 1, that the Seshew Medew Netcher script has been deciphered, 2, the methods for doing so, and 3, demonstrate that with time and patience, anyone can do it. And we've had that since April, but unfortunately, these are not the kind of things that entertain people, and so at this point we are being dragged backwards, but do share with anyone else, with anyone. We have an archive of shows that most people can be able to learn from, and some of the questions that are being asked already, we have gone through them in at least 1 or 2 of our shows.
Yeah, exactly. But that's a good point, and that is our purpose. We stated our purpose, and we've drilled it home. So yeah, so anybody who's watching now, share our channel to those who you feel that may be interested and everything like that. And like I said, it's to be expected that the numbers are not going to match. And I just gave the example tonight. You have an economic program. The brother Garfield is doing an excellent job of giving information about different aspects of financial help. Sister Monica is also involved, and through credit repair, insurance, grants, I believe, and some other things dealing with finances. And you just look at the numbers versus somebody hollering and beefing about somebody coming in somebody's neighborhood. You're talking about who's the king of the conscious community and so on and so forth. So you got like almost 2,000 people watching that versus only 200 people watching things that are pretty much practical right now. And a lot of people ask us, what's the practicality? What can learning the Egyptian language do for me right now? And when people ask that, I'm like, well, we could talk about that. But even if we had a show about what can help you right here, right now, the numbers will still be low. It's just, that's just how it is. And so we got to be honest with that, and not really look for it to be other than that, and cater to those numbers, statistics. And that's how people move. That's how big companies move. They take statistics and numbers. How people say numbers don't lie. Well, we got to use those numbers. So but yeah, that was a good point as far as our purpose for that. So yeah, share, get people to subscribe and check out the archives, or just share our videos. Either way, something that you like, share the videos.
Then going forward from that time period, we had University of Kemet. They dropped a video over their book Mayat. It was pretty influential, and I'm not sure if that was noticed on the radar as well. And also, the same time period, the shoes came out on those shoes.
Yeah, that's good. See, now University of Kemet Press, that's our good elder brother Deka Kilimanjaro, his wife Ife Kilimanjaro, and the brother Yahra Aneb. And I believe they had some more people on the team. So forgive me for not mentioning other names, but those three
have an elder.
And man, and they have some very good, solid work. Solid work. They have a series of, I believe, 15 books. All of their books are useful, applicable. From study teams to SIBA to Box Squared to African Time, Ma'at, etc. They all touch on different aspects of things that we can utilize and make use of right now. Research methodology, putting together a homeschooling from K through 12 program, dealing with morality or morals with the book with Ma'at, and then giving history, but with African Time and Box Squared. So their works, because I know they worked hard to actually publish a lot of books this year. So I don't know the publishing dates specifically, but I know this year they definitely published a lot of those books. So man, hats off to them, and they need our support. We should support that, definitely. So matter of fact, we should invite them on our show to be able to ask them questions about their work, and tie it into what we do as far as Egyptian culture and language, because they, in Ma'at, they talk about principles, and they have a little bit of language in there, and they discuss the Nile Valley a lot and the greatness of the Nile Valley, because we can pattern a lot of things after the Nile Valley, Egypt and everything. So, but that's good. So what else this year? What else was cranking out this year?
After Uncle dropped the shoes, that's when we had Wuja on trial, Monte Rule, with the publication or the text.
Oh, sorry, say that again.
We had the Monte Rule situation. It's the claims on the book from Tim Osiris.
Oh, right. Yeah. That was, yeah.
Small thing. What about the?
Yeah, that was a case of not.
Yeah, that was 3 up, 3 down thing,
Right.
and that just goes to show that. See, and it's the thing, I see this in the conscious community. I don't like to call it conscious community. I say social community, but in this digital social community, a lot of people talk about things that they have not studied. Because I think the internet has changed the climate, and I know it's changed the climate, but it's just really weird to actually see it manifest and see it, because people, we get kind of big chested behind keyboards and behind monitors and behind avatars and things like that, and I don't mean big chested in terms of physically, you know, like I'm the big bad guy or sister or whatever the case is, but there's less and less accountability, and people, you know, people are not held responsible for what they say and things. So now everybody can say anything, whether it's negative stuff about beefy stuff, you know, conflict, or even information. So you got people who will just peruse through somewhere, through Google, through Wikipedia, whatever, and then they'll just start talking. And they'll even so much so they'll feel like empowered to talk in opposition to somebody who takes it more serious, who's done more investigation, apply more rigor to the study than they did, but yet they want to sit there and argue about it because topics such as Afrocentricity came up this year, and people want to talk about it, but yet they haven't even um, read the works about Afrocentricity. The topic about linguistics, language families, people are arguing over that, but they have not taken the time to study the linguistic methods and tools involved to even have such a discussion about that, you know. So those kind of things transpired this year. And I bring that up because of what you brought up as far as the Makeru situation with the book and stuff like that, is that people who don't write books, who haven't go through a self-publishing procedures, and even the companies will then try to talk about it, you know, and saying things like you have to have an ISBN number for another change and this and other, not knowing that, you know, depending on the company, first of all, you know, like with those kind of situations with books, just people who are interested in publishing books, this is for you. The ISBN and the edition numbers and things like that, those are things that you deal with to relate to your potential customers and consumers, to eliminate any confusion. So you put edition numbers in your book so that people who buy your book, they'll know what they have. The ISBN numbers and things like that, all of that stuff is like tracking to eliminate confusion about that. So different companies handle those things differently. And so some companies, you can change all aspects of the book except the trim size, which is the dimensions. So let's say you make a 6x9 book, or 5x8 book, or 8.5x11 book, or whatever the case is, that stays permanent. The title and author stays permanent. Those three things, those three elements usually attach themselves or permanently married to an ISBN number. Now, some of those some companies will allow you to change everything else and maintain the same ISBN number. In fact, some companies will allow you to change 20% of the book in terms of page numbers, either 20% more or 20%, 15 to 20% less. As long as you don't go add 15 to 20% more pages or reduce it by 15 to 20%, you're still you can still use the exact same ISBN number, title, so on and so forth. So much so that you can change the entire cover of a book, the entire look of a book, but it has to stay the same size and has to maintain the same title and author. But you can change the entire cover, color, everything about the cover and everything, and still have the same ISBN number. But you won't know that unless you go through this process, or you've actually done, you know, either gone through the process, because going through the process, you'll actually contact companies to find all this stuff out or whatnot. But we have people who will not know that and go through those things that will have so much to say about stuff like that, you know. So overall, I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, this year and even previous years, hopefully we go into 2017 where people can slow down and get off the microwave tip and get back into the conventional oven and slow walk through different information to be able to have informed opinions about things, you know, instead of jumping out the window, making these opinions about things, especially against people who do certain things for a more concentrated study and things like that. Hopefully we can do that in 2017. You know, people need to slow down and learn some things first before they open their mouth, you know. So
Since we're on the topic of, oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, so yeah, thanks. I was just wanted to say that apart from having informed opinion, I think with those kind of situation and what we have also currently is just what you see is people just not knowing how to distinguish between scholarship and other things, because you find in these kind of situations when people are overwhelmed by the amount of correction that they're getting in the scholarship, instead of attacking that in with the same mode and sticking with scholarship, what we find is because most of these people are not prepared scholastically, then you end up getting what we term as character assassination or attempts of that, which obviously always fails miserably. But yeah, that I think with those kind of situations of those are the kind of things I see that are kind of in common, where people can't people who are not really scholastically prepared. So then you get all this kind of other drama that are being brought into play and considered as being scholastic, which are not.
mm-hmm. And I just hope in 2017 we'll see a more mature community of people, because I think a lot of things are very juvenile and immature, and we've seen a lot of bad character this year and previous years. But certain highlights of the year, you'll see bad character will show its face to the extreme, and then things will die down and it'll creep back up and things like that. So overall, we need to really do better as a whole. I know all of us have things to improve, but I think we need a more broader focus on character building as a actual effort, to be made. Like, for example, people will post up and call for a boycott of this or that. We've seen that this year, with the police violence and things like that. So we want to boycott and everything. I think to be more proactive, we need to, instead of wait for something to happen, even among what we're discussing with scholarship and things like that, we need to actually purposefully focus on character building good characters, and things like that among the community. That will cut down that will have an effect that will affect a lot of other areas that's going on in the community, the different beefs, or it'll trim it down. It won't get so intense where people are holding up brandishing guns and knives on YouTube channels and calling people out their name, calling their mothers this and that, telling their mothers what to do to them and this and that. If we have an institution of character building in place, and more people talking about it and focusing on that, I think it will cut down on that a lot. So hopefully we'll get some of that going on in 2017, or at least more people talking about it.
All right, we in September, and since we're on the topic of books, this is also the time that I think Benjamin earlier in the year had dropped a kids series book, but Lima dropped her book, Perceptions of Misplaced African, Volume 1. So that book also was dropped in September, and then from there, going into I think October, we have the infamous Sonnetter discussion where the alien glyphs were dropped.
Yeah, and that the alien glyphs though, that's that comes up like once a month on Facebook, period. But yeah, on Sonetter's channel, Young Pharaoh. Well, actually, prior to that, it was kind of brewing up about the Seshew and Netcher, about the hieroglyphs, period. So then when we had that hangout, who was on that hangout? It was me, Sanjeti, Unk, Dr. Ma'at, Young Pharaoh, Sarasun Seti came and left, and Asar Motep. And we were supposed to have, this discussion about research methodology and the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. So, and that's where Dr. Ma'at came in. She was basically supposed to discuss, or she did discuss, the research methodology, questioning young Pharaoh on his methods. You know, and then the other topic was about the hieroglyphs and everything like that. So, and at that point, it wasn't no debate. It was no debate. There was no idea of a debate or an event, I should say, or anything. We were just having a discussion, and people clearly saw right there that the young brother did not have proper research methods. You know, because he gave an example of the Photoshop mummy, and then the medallion. And he went even so far as to say the mummy was tested DNA, alien DNA, this and that. And man, that was just really, I mean, we had to laugh. I mean, everybody saw it. We had to laugh because, you know, see, now that's entertainment. That's entertaining. You know, if anybody looks at that archive, they should be entertained. They should not take that stuff serious, you know, but you have people who will. But from young Pharaoh's perspective, he was dead serious. And that's what's scary about it. That's where the problem comes in, you know, to this very day, you know. So I don't know, but yeah, that was interesting. That was interesting. We offered to teach him classes. I know I personally offered, but and Brother Reggie was on there, I believe. No, I don't know if he was on there, but I know Reggie has offered before. I've offered. Sanjetti offered. He turned it down, and look at the results. You know, he said that it was only what do you say, 15 out of 39 glyphs have been deciphered. So only 50% of the decipherment has been done, and this and that, you know, not knowing that we know, okay, he got that from you know, the Ackerblad, Wikipedia and everything. So that was just real funny.
Yeah, say, but if I can point out, I do want to say, sometime during that year, I do remember the brother YK the Truth stepping on the scene, and he was dealing with Pharaoh periodically throughout the year, whether he was dealing with the Anunnaki claims or whether he was dealing with the pseudoscience. I do remember that's when that brother started out, you know, his trek and starting to deal with the young brother too.
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to YK the Truth, because he's been anti-pseudo, or, you know, addressing those claims, and he's been doing a good job visually chopping up the videos and making them kind of short and palatable to watch. And that's really good, especially when in this kind of community where people have a short attention span. That becomes a very important thing to do. You know, make something short, digestible, and to the point. So yeah, his videos are good, definitely, on all those claims. So we had that going on. So where was that? You said that was about October?
Yeah, we're in October. The next thing that happened in October, but the event actually occurred later in the year, was the Black Power nominees were given out in October.
Mm-hmm. And that was good. That was good idea, good event. I attended the event. I thought it was very good. I purposely didn't have any expectations. I kind of wanted to keep my mind in a clean slate, because I didn't know how it was going to come off. I didn't know how it was going to go. You know, it's the first one, and then we're coming off of the social community where you have all kinds of personalities and characters of people. So I didn't know what to expect. So I tried to attend with a clean, you know, open mind, and not have any assumptions or expectations. And I was impressed. You know, everybody was clean, sharp, neat, you know, brothers and sisters looking good in their outfits and everything. And actually, I didn't even know it was going to be like that. You know, I don't know why. I don't know. I just didn't expect people to be kind of really decked out like that, but it was good. And so then you had some controversy though with that. You had controversy with the categories themselves, and then the nominees of the categories, and then the winners, you know. And I'm like, man, you can't please all the people all the time. So of course you're going to have some criticism about it and things like that. And it's the first one, so it's going to get better, hopefully, if they continue it, which I believe they are. but prior to it, a couple people wanted to boycott it or speak against it and stop people from going and stuff like that. And that just that's a testimony to how we are. On one hand, on one side of the neck, everybody wants this unity. Now at the other side of the neck, people are quick to say boycott this if I can't get my way. And I think that's really, really sad. And we got to mature. We got to know how to handle those kinds of things, because we're being watched. Everybody around the world watches the African American community and mimics and capitalize off us. Because one, we're the biggest consumers in the United States. I don't know world statistics, but in the United States, we're the biggest consumers. We spend a lot of money. I forgot what the figures are, but it's a lot. It's a whole lot. And you would think that all the problems we have, the amount of money we spend, we shouldn't have any of these problems. We shouldn't even have these kinds of conversations with the amount of money that we spend as consumers. But I'm saying that to say we're watched. The whole hip hop culture is watched, mimicked, bit off of in other countries and the whole nine. This United States African American hip hop culture has seeped its way everywhere. China, Japan, at different African countries, and so on and so forth. You see their commercials, you'll see all kinds of things incorporating everything in there and stuff like that. So we're being watched. We've always been watched. We've always been watched and studied. Matter of fact, the whole scientific discipline of psychology is the study of the African mind. At first, you can consult the scholars that we mentioned earlier, Naeem Akbar, Amos Wilson, and Francis Cress Wilson, and all these scholars will talk about that. We've always been watched. We've always been studied, and now when we're studied so much to where the people who studied us know us better than we know ourselves, and we could be manipulated this way, if we don't know ourselves, if they know us better than we know ourselves. So yeah, we have to do better. So, I don't want to keep going off on a rant, but we had at October with that, but like you said, along with that, well, actually, you just go ahead. What else we have going on? Because like I said, I don't want to.
From there we go into kind of how we had YK the Truth. We also had Joel, brother Joel. Is it Joel or Joel?
Joel.
Joel. Yeah, he started coming with the videos as well. Again,
Jerry Springer
notoriety.
Yeah, his channel has been characterized as the conscious community Jerry Springer and stuff, and I can kind of see why people say that, because the reason why, people like he may take offense to that, but and see, we just got to be honest. Like on a personal level, every single person, you can't lie to yourself, and we try to be delusional amongst ourselves and try to lie to ourselves. Well, you can't. And we just got to be honest with ourselves and our fellow people. But with Joel show or channel is being described as a Jerry Springer, and it's mainly because it seems like whenever there's a grievance in the social community now, you go to him, you call him up and be like, hey, I'm gonna get on your show. I want to voice my my grievance and things, or just like Jerry Springer show. Jerry Springer would invite one party and another party in conflict, and then they would hash it out on the show. That's how it happened. It got so bad that they had a fight every show, and it was actually scripted into the show, where you come on the show, you do that. It was like understood as a guest. That's what you're going to do. I don't know if it's written in the contract or whatever, but it was every single show. You know what I mean? So yeah, somebody pulling somebody's hair, or somebody getting up, or that guy was the guy who had to keep them separated, the security dude. He ended up having his own show or whatever.
Steve.
Yeah. So, but yeah, anyway, Joel's show is being described as that, and in some ways it seems like that. Some ways it's not. That was my first time even hearing about the brother or his show. But I believe he has a bookstore in Brooklyn that does very well and stuff like that. So, hats off to his business. Hope he's successful. But yeah, sometimes, I think people get into things that they're not really good at or should be doing something else or whatever because it's easy accessible. Like YouTube has made everything easily accessible. And people are doing things that they're not really skilled in or have taken the time to become skilled in. And they just do it because they can, because I can take my mic and beat machine and create a song and put up on YouTube, then bam, I'm instantly there. I could declare myself as a producer, rapper, or whatever. And I could sound horrible, or on the flip side, there's some good talent out there that does it as well. But I'm saying that to say because a lot of these YouTube channels, people are trying to be Walter Cronkite or what's the 2020 lady? I forgot her name.
Walter.
Yeah,
Barbara
Barbara
Walters.
Walters. Yeah, Barbara Walters or the next
Tony Chung.
Oprah or whatever the case is, right? And interview people, and it takes some kind of skill. It takes skill to interview and know the kind of questions to ask, and then because you always start with your questions that you already have prior to the show, so you got a set of questions that you want to cover, but then it takes skill to dance with the answers that they give, to have follow-up questions and follow-up discussions and filler information. That sometimes it takes skills to know how to get in there and do that, and not worry about what people are saying in the chat and this and that. So I think everybody needs to really, really grow. And I think there's room for it. It's always room for growth. You got to start somewhere. Just like with us, we started with Divine Words Wednesdays. Sometimes we struggle to find a topic and everything. Freestyle Friday is pretty easy. It's just picking pictures. We got pictures galore, so I don't think we ever have a problem with Freestyle Friday. But yeah, so I mean, everybody has room to grow. So hopefully in 2017, we see growth in everybody, So
Yeah, I just wanted to add two things. Not on a big level again, but Saint Antoine, he hired a trip to Kemet, and I think I saw Himotep's book, Nasud BD, was released and all that. So those are two kind of good highlights for the year.
Yep, definitely. So yeah, yep. I saw a published book. I'm looking at the date. Okay, yeah, it's just this year. But yeah, that book dropped. That's an excellent book. So y'all, everybody who listening now, you should have it. Actually, we should list all the books that we basically have read and support and so on and so forth. We should create a list of that, because a lot of people ask us, what are some good books to get and this and that, and we're always listing them, but we don't have like a place, like a list that we could just copy and paste. I think that'd be a good idea to do that. But yeah, Antoine, you want to speak on I know your highlight of going to Egypt for the first time.
Yeah, definitely. In June, went to Kemet with Ashra Kwesi. Excellent trip, and the good thing is I'm a little jealous. They actually went to Ethiopia. I believe it was today or yesterday, and so that's where they're at now.
Okay.
So it was an excellent experience. I definitely recommend anyone who has opportunity while the elders still with us to take advantage of it. Closest thing to Dr. being that we have, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that's a trip, man. That's a trip that everyone should take. It's like a Hajj, like for Muslims when they take Hajj, perform Hajj, and they go to Mecca and things like that, Nile Valley. Yeah, to go.
The good thing about going was the fact that I had been in class for over a year, and so while I was there, I was able to chop it up with him about the glyphs and also read some glyphs myself. And the people who was on the tour with me made some excellent relationships as they, would ask me certain questions related to the bush as well. So having that understanding definitely was important and beneficial, and one of the motivations for me taking the class and eventually ending up in the group.
Yeah, actually, your avatar is a picture of you in Kemet, so that's good. In Egypt, so that's good. And we are thankful for the pictures you brought back, because we have a lot of material that we could work with from your pictures as well. So I know when you came back, you did a show where we had a hangout where you kind of went over your pictures. So we may revisit that and do that again. If you want to put something together again. Because I know because at the time we did it, you kind of just got back and you had a lot of pictures, but maybe if you want to put something together, a presentation, as a slideshow presentation or whatever, to kind of go touch on some highlights again and things,
Yeah,
that
I'm
would be good.
thinking about that. I think I would prefer to deal like as opposed to just like my trip, but deal more or less like take a look at some different temples and discuss the temples.
Yeah.
It's an insight on the temples. That's kind of the idea or the direction I'm going.
Okay. Well, yeah, whatever you have in mind, we look forward to that. And yeah, look forward to that. So that's a highlight of this year. And like you said, the Saramutep book. And then that brings us up. So we were October, then we have November, leading up to December. November was kind of quiet because from October to December, actually the tail end of August, October, September. Yeah. That's the hype that was built around this latest controversy with the language and the writing system. Has the Medew Netcher been deciphered? So November was kind of like a radio silence month for whatever reason. It's kind of quiet. Nobody wasn't saying too much of anything in terms of that going on. So that brings us to the event, or what directly led up to the
Saber. Before the event, we have to remember that Voices of Fire blog kicked off.
Oh, definitely.
And there was a whole bunch of articles that preceded Voices of Fire's blog.
Yes.
And one of the hotter topics was the uncovering of a fake debate.
Then we got to shout out MBK too. They
Yeah,
dropped on the scene.
definitely. Brother Jehudi, I don't know if you want to kind of speak on what does the NBK stand for?
It's acronym for New Black Knowledge.
Yeah. So so what does NBK do? Just kind of briefly.
We put out videos and try to discuss topics that we don't see other people discussing, as far as West Africa and Black Power topics, African centered topics.
All right. So it's good. So, I'm telling you, eventually we won't even need cable or TV, because we'll have everything that what people are doing.
As we talk about MBK and Voices of Fire, we also I guess had 2 new members coming to the group this year as well. So I guess if you want to speak on that a little bit, that'd be excellent.
Yep, we expanded our membership, and just for those people who don't know, now we have a video in the archives, a hangout that we did about us, about the Seshew Ma'ani Medew Netcher, and you can go on the website and learn more about us, and how we came up with the name and everything like that. And actually, I guess we get to the book, but it's in the new book as well. But yeah, we've expanded our membership by 2 members. And just briefly though, our group is a co-ed group. Right now we have one sister, Emiket Aku, Kinshai, and the rest of us are brothers. But we expanded the membership by 2 brothers, and that's Jehuti Ma'at and the brother Sean. And So because the reason I'm saying this, I'm trying to, you know, keep it brief because we already did a whole hangout about it. But sometimes people ask us what are the requirements to become a member, and you know, so one thing that we want to stress, or that we stress, is that we're not just a group that somebody's, you know, like a clique that's just gonna become a part of the group just for the sake of saying you're part of the group. So we actually do things. We actually work on projects and actually, you know, stay busy. So one of the prerequisites of becoming a member is to show suitable proficiency, at least at a beginner's level, with the Medew Netcher, which is the hieroglyphic writing system and the language. So either now, in order to gain that proficiency, either you could learn on your own, take a class through somebody else who's skilled and trained enough to teach, or take the class through me and through the book. But we don't discriminate. So you don't have to take the class through me. You could learn on your own, or you could learn through another teacher, such as Dr. Riketi Amin, Mfundishi, Benochi Montgomery, or whoever else, or just on your own. But in order to become a member, you will be tested. You have to go through an exam so that it'll allow us to know what's your level of competency at the beginner's level, or wherever the case is. So that's one requirement. So you're required to have a beginner's competency in the language. And then the second, out of the two most important, the second one is a focus on building good character. So now, like I said, we don't walk around like acting like we have our nose in the air and we're perfect, or we have the best character in the whole wide world and things like that. But at least we have to see a demonstration that good character is taken serious, and that we are all working on that, and that is something that at the forefront of our minds, and not tucked away in the back, and we could just cut up 5 days of the week, but then on the weekend we got to be all stiff and have, you know, display good character, then, you know, like I said, and repeat. So we want to make sure that, so that's basically the two main requirements of becoming a member. And like I said, we get busy, we work on the projects, and that leads us into our first project that was made public, and it's through a publication, and the publication is called Has the Egyptian Hieroglyphic Writing System Been Deciphered? A Rebuttal to Walter Williams. So we worked on that collectively and published it 5 days before the event. I believe it was December 14th when we published it. And that was in light of, or in lieu of, the event deciphered, you know. So we noticed that all of the arguments, the recent arguments concerning that, was stemming from the same arguments that Walter Williams had placed in his book. And his book is called The Historical Origin of Christianity. In the appendix, he has like a 5-page appendix laying out why he believes that the language or the writing system has not been deciphered. And so all of these arguments that you've been seeing on social media are mirror images of the arguments in this book. So we took it upon ourselves to address that, because out of respect for the elder Walter Williams, and he's a beloved elder. A lot of people love Walter Williams, you know, because he speaks about Christianity, Islam, and so on and so forth. But out of respect for him, because he put it in writing, we felt he should be addressed in writing as well, not just a simple interview where we talk this and talk that. So we put pen to pad and published a book to refute or rebuttal the claims. So, you know, that's what we've done. That's what we've done collectively. So that's an example of what we have going on as a group, and we have more projects that we're working on. Even as individuals, like individual members of our group, myself and everybody else. Sister Emiket will be conducting starting a class on penmanship, how to write the hieroglyphs in a formal fashion and a simplified fashion. Brother Kofi, who's not with us right now tonight, he is working on a book. and I'll let him discuss that maybe next time, because I don't want to announce anything, prematurely or anything like that. But he's working on a project. The brother Chris has been, I don't know if he's still with us. Yeah. So I don't know if you still working on a project as far as dealing with the papyrus, the various papyrus of what they call the books of the dead and things like that. So you're gonna mute your mic if you want to kind of speak on that. Yes, no, maybe so. All right. Chris is like, nope, tight lip about it.
He might have stepped away for a minute.
He's like, nope, I'm not telling anybody anything. But yeah, so we have projects underway, collectively or individually, so that's what we got going on. But yeah, so I just want to kind of mention that about the group. But that leads us up to the book. And so hopefully everyone who's watching now, you have a copy or you've placed the order for the copy. But just to give you a quick synopsis of the book, it is addressing Walter Williams's claims in his book. And the book is done in two parts. Part one is educational. So because in order to refute or rebuttal the claims, there's some prerequisite information that people need to know. All right. So the part one is two chapters, I should say. Chapter one is called Things You Should Know. And then the second part is the rebuttal. So we go through key terminologies. We define what decipherment is. We define the writing system. We tell you what the hieroglyphs are and how they function. All of that good stuff. So all of that stuff is in part one. And then part two, we actually go into point by point of the rebuttal. All right. And that's basically how the book is outlined. And from there, you can learn a lot from that book. And then you're also encouraged to get the beginner's introduction to Medew Netcher to learn more about the language itself and actually learn and be able to transliterate and translate. And then we have the classes available that complements that book. So, and that was, December 14th. And I guess that leads us up to the event. So, I'll kind of let you all kind of build on all the latest and greatest right now, because we could discuss that and then we can kind of close out. We've been on for 2 hours. So I'm going to look at some of these comments though, I get some people's comments. Sleep is for the weak. Yep. Sleep is for the weak. Definitely. No, but you need your sleep now. Health wise, hey, you need your sleep. Need your sleep. Let me see, I'm scrolling down. Scrolling back down. What else we got going on? Can one of you teachers join my FB group and help spread some knowledge? Yeah. What is the group? This is from Heru, Ankh, Medew, and Ra. Post up the name of the group.
I think he did. If you just scroll down.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of going down. All right, search group. My group is called The Awakening, the True Origins of Religion and Freeing Mental Incarceration. Look for it. Okay. All right. Yeah. Now, well, let me. Okay. Anybody want to speak on the current events? Cause you know me, I'm MC Iron Man. I was about to go in just now.
Yeah, I guess we people are trying to figure out where to start.
The current events. I mean, what's considered current? I guess okay. So they had to debate. Or well, the debate was scheduled. I guess up until a week prior, or maybe not even that, like 5 days prior to the event being scheduled. SETI and they get into this big old. I guess Polite and Senator had this issue going on, and then next thing we know, Senator and SETI had this issue going on, and so basically they're not going to do the debate for whatever reasons, financially or issues with him. So they schedule something and they go into having something, and that's pretty much where I'm left off at as far as where they come in. And I'm sure like maybe Jehudi or Sean may have a clearer
It was 3 days.
details.
Yeah, it was 3 days prior to the event.
Yeah. Well, like I said, November was kind of quiet in terms of the event and that topic. And then December is to pick back up because you have to do promos. You gotta, Sonetta is a good promoter, so he's gonna do that's what he does. So he's gonna do whatever it takes to start stirring the pot, and everything. So come December, you start seeing things resurface again and videos being made and things like that. So yeah. Now let me say this though about that event. At the very, very start of the event, I was against it. Okay. And I was against it because Sarah Soon said and Young Pharaoh, in my eyes, they're not qualified to debate this topic. And I still feel that way. They're absolutely not qualified to debate the topic. And that's just a basic principle, like Dr. John Henry Clark said, you debate your equals and all others you teach. So this is why when we had that initial hangout, I offered to teach the brother, Young Pharaoh, about the language first, because then once you get taught and you submerge yourself in it, then you can have a stake in arguing against something or whatnot, So I was against it. And then, as time went on, I saw that it's an opportunity for people to learn because, with what was being said, I'm like, wow, people actually believe that, So I end up changing my mind, but I never looked at it as a debate. I told myself that, hey, this is an opportunity for people to learn. So it's going to be a teaching moment. Uncle Ket called it a divine intervention and things like that. So we never looked at it as a debate. But the way that the House of Consciousness does its events, it wouldn't have been very conducive for the teaching moment I had in mind. So I was still kind of, iffy about it, but I wasn't like totally against it as I was at first. Cause I'm like, man, no way, even entertain those two brothers, Sarasun Sede or Young Pharaoh. So then, like I said, as time went on and whatnot, I kind of changed. But what led up to, leading up to the actual event, you start seeing these videos and you can clearly see that the brothers didn't understand the subject matter at hand. They didn't even know what decipherment is and still don't, even after their presentations that they did show, and that's on YouTube now. They don't know what decipherment is, because if anybody watched their presentations, you can clearly see that they focus on pronunciations for the majority of their presentations, both of their presentations. They don't understand the difference between decipherment, transliteration, translation, transcription, and pronunciations. They just don't. They never even define decipherment for the audience. How are you going to have a lecture or a uncontested living room debate where you're talking about a subject, but you never ever set the framework for it? You never define what decipherment is. So I thought that was just a confirmation of everything that I was saying from the start, But yeah, a lot of drama behind the scenes. I know a lot of people may not know the details about all the drama and stuff like that, but I'm going to say this: what they're blaming on, the reasons for them tapping out of the event, is really, really silly and petty, because Sarasun Sede, Young Pharaoh, and the whole Amon-Ra squad was given the changes at the same time. Matter of fact, Young Pharaoh was given the changes first. We were the last ones to receive the changes, and we all received it at the same time. Sonetta called Brother Unk up, and told him to check the email. And in real time, we were already on a conference, and then Unc pulled the email up, sent it, forwarded to everybody, and we all looked at it together in real time. And it was the changes. It was the changes in time. Instead of everybody getting an hour to talk straight, because initially it was supposed to be Sarah Seti for an hour, Unc for an hour, and then young Pharaoh for an hour, and then Asar Motep for an hour. And I'm like, that's not, that wouldn't have been too cool, but that's how it was. And everybody was going to roll with it. But then the last minute it changed. So instead of it being an hour each person, they broke it up, which makes more sense. It's not perfect, but it makes more sense. Everybody was given a half an hour. So you get 15 minutes to do your opening. All 4 people get 15 minutes each to do your opening. Then once you have the opening round, then you have your key presentation round, which is a half an hour. So everybody gets a half an hour to go. Then you come back and do a half an hour rebuttal round. Each person get another half an hour. Then you get another 15 minutes to do your closing round. So altogether, everybody ended up with more time. Altogether, it was an hour and a half per person now. So it went from an hour to an hour and a half. So for Sarah Seti and young Pharaoh to say that they got their time chopped down, or they got less time, or they couldn't do their full presentation, that was just not true. Because instead of you rebuttaling, you could have just continued. If your presentation takes an hour, you do your first half an hour, and then you could just do your second part in your second half an hour. It's just that simple. Nobody was cutting anything out. So, but I say that to say that we all got the changes at the same time. Now on our end, we were like, okay, cool, fine, we're gonna roll with it. No complaints, none. We didn't complain about money. We didn't complain about the time change or anything. And the reason why is because on this subject matter, we're solid. It doesn't matter if Sonetta would have changed it when you walked in the door. Like with me personally, I don't even need a PowerPoint presentation at all. Like the only reason why I would use a PowerPoint presentation is for visual aids to make sure the audience understood what I was saying. But in terms of the subject matter, and if we're going to debate, to get down to debating, just give me the microphone. So he could have switched it up 2 seconds before I touched the microphone. It wouldn't have mattered, and that's how I feel. That's how Sanjeti felt, and Asar Motep, because out of us 4 and the brother Jonathan, but he wasn't in attendance, and I didn't attend either, but I was gonna go. I was scheduled to be there, but I did something else with my daughter. It was much more important. I put my children first. So I couldn't attend, but that's how we all felt. Asar, Sanjeti, and myself. It's like, hey. In fact, Asar Motep, he prepared his slides the night before. That's just how the information was. But anyway, so they pulled out, and I think that was very, very bad. I think that was a disservice to the people, because the people were robbed of a good compare and contrast showdown of information. And I think that the way it went down for them to do a separate presentation and then not show up and stuff like that, I really think that was a disservice to the people. And that's really, really sad for that. But because of that, what we're going to do in the first week of January, or maybe the first weekend in January, maybe January 8th, I'm saying we as the Amara Squad, we're going to actually do a point-by-point rebuttal of Sarah Seti's and Young Pharaoh's presentation, okay? Because we feel that the people deserve that, all right? Because you still have people that are that have seen their presentation, but they don't see the other side, and things like that. So so the people deserve that. So that's what we're going to put together and do that point for point. And last night we had a hangout to kind of give a preview of how that's going to go and how easy it is, and how those brothers not showing up how much it did a disservice, and the fact that, you know, they were not going to be victorious whatsoever, even for those who saw that as a debate. And like I said, we didn't see it as a debate, and you would have clearly seen that. Even last night. I mean, last night, go to the Real Black Atheist YouTube channel and watch the video that we did. Now it's long. It's 4 hours long. It was not intended. Matter of fact, we didn't even intend on going live last night. It was on the spot type of thing, and we ended up going live and staying live for 4 hours. But, you know, watch the video, you know, on your time, and you'll just see how it just wouldn't have been a debate. It just would not have been a debate at all. But it'd been a good opportunity for people to learn. But in that kind of crowd, if people are there to get entertained and stuff like that, then you know, it would have been that'd have been a different story. But still, so yeah, Sister Naya was on the panel last night too. 4 hours. Yep, 4+ hours, maybe even more.
David,
Yeah.
I don't want to change the subject, but I do want to shout out to One Mind, because they also have come on the scene and have hosted a series of lectures in regard to a lot of things that have transpired, some stuff. But also, back to your point, I just, based on the way the conversations have gone, the Amara Squad was the out, or the blame for basically everything that transpired in this non-debate. Because if you go back and play everything, no matter that there was no videos, no conversations being had to the public, y'all were the blames. When they came out in public and started their talking and rants and justifying why they not doing this and that and the third, they put it on the Amara Squad.
Yeah, see, that's a tactic though. You know, like any of us have been doing this for a while. We know how that goes, but it's very silly, and it's basically a scapegoat. It's the point the finger thing, you know. But we weren't to blame at all. We were definitely not to blame. Matter of fact, we had nothing to do with the contract. We weren't in charge. We weren't the promoters. We weren't the people that's in charge of the money, paying for anything. We didn't complain about the money. We didn't complain about the time change. None of it. That was between the promoter, which is Sonetta, and Young Pharaoh and Sarah Seti. They were asking for $7,000 a piece. 2,000 before the event, 2,000 at the event, and then 3,000 in royalties for 6 months duration of YouTube videos and all that stuff. It adds up to $7,000 a piece. So that would have been 14,000 between the two of them. So, and to me, that's crazy, but it just shows that, you know, their intent of this event. See, we didn't cry about it. We didn't complain or cry at all. We didn't make any videos about it to this day. We have not. There's no videos of us complaining about anything. So we weren't to blame. We weren't the blame. Now we took the blame. We were accused of this and that, but that's just not true. That's all part of the game, part of the tactic. Comes down to the information, and on information, it's just a wrap. It's unfortunate that people are unable to see that. So that's why we're going to do what we're going to do. We're going to go point for point with their through their presentation. And last night was just a little taste, just so people can understand how easy it is. You know, Sarah Student said he's saying there's no P in the Greek language. Everybody knows that's false. He didn't even know what a sigma is in the as far as one of the Greek characters. You know, anybody that went to college, whether you pledge a fraternity or not, you know what sigma, you know alpha, you know lambda, you know delta. You know, even the Nile, the lower Egypt is called the delta. You know, I mean, so it's just little things that's real easy. But yeah, so the event, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say the problem is people gonna continue to make excuses for him, give him a scapegoat, give him an out, And, it just shows they bad character. Anybody's no excuse for backing out of a debate 3 days before or the event.
Right.
It's just no matter what you're saying, there ain't no excuse for that. You don't care about the people. You think you're bigger than the event, and you think you're bigger than the people. It's really giving you a career.
Right, right. And speaking of career, not to mention, look at the logic. The brother Sarvasun said he says that the Medew Netcher has not been deciphered. Now we know that if that's true, then everything that he's been teaching up to this point needs to be thrown in the garbage can, because how would you know all of the stuff that he stood on before without the language being deciphered? So it's just some logical problems right there. It's just basic contradictions in the logic of making that claim, especially coming from him. Now I can see if somebody just random person makes the claim, but no, this person, Seti, has been teaching about Kemet for years. Claims to be a part of a craft. And all of that. I mean, everybody's familiar with Seti. Seti is loved by the community. So, and he touches on Egypt. Everybody knows his name, Savra Sutin Seti, even though we know Sutin is incorrect. But he has an Egyptian name. So for him to make a stance and say that it hasn't been deciphered is counterproductive to every single thing that he's taught, period. And his mentors. So not only is he like making an appearance that he's coming of age and he can formulate his own opinion, but man, his opinion is unfounded, it's uninformed, and it goes against every single thing he's done prior and his mentors. So that's the way he wants to deal with it, then that's fine. But other people are getting caught up into that now. So you got people that are listening to that. People are listening to what they said. It's right now. I see the comments that are being made on these different channels and on Facebook. But this is something that we do, so we kind of take it personal, not personal, but we kind of take it to heart a little bit, because it's something that we do. It's like, how can this guy say that the Seshew Medew Netcher or the hieroglyphs haven't been deciphered when we deal with it all the time? So we're like, huh? So it's something that we did. So we have the book. Now, mind you, this book was published 5 days prior to the event, but it debunks about 90% of what they said in the presentation. So if you don't have the book, get the book and you'll see it. Crack open the book, read the book, and then rewatch their presentations, and you're gonna be amazed. You're gonna say, wow.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, especially regarding the book, and just to verify stuff like all the stuff that's been going on with them, finding excuses, which pretty much are excuses of avoiding the divine intervention, with all that about the contract issue and something about their intellectual property. And if you actually look into that and you see that, especially when we're dealing with the book, that it has nothing to do with that, because most of their claims are actually not their own intellectual property but borrowed. So all of this stuff, will just let you know that those were just excuses. They were not prepared, but they were not, they're just not honorable enough to just say that they were wrong. The assumption or hypothesis was wrong, and just call it what it is. So they just had to find an excuse, and obviously just bring more conflict, unneeded conflict in the community. But yeah, regarding the intellectual property, if you look into the book, you'll find that all those claims that they had were not actually theirs, but you can find them in Walter Williams' book, and those are the ones that we did go over in the new book that you were just going over.
Yeah, and actually, if you watch Seti's presentation, he has slides of Walter Williams' books. He's reading from it. So I mean, I'm telling you all, listen, if they would have showed up, I mean, it would have been embarrassing on their part. Now, this is the funny thing, though, because of the climate of the House of Consciousness events, the climate would have given them a chance to appear like they're doing something. So in other words, because of the crowd and then people want to be entertained rather than taught, then yeah, it would have been, the appearance of, okay, yeah, Seti and Pharaoh, they rocking the house and this and that. But I'm gonna tell you, point for point on information, it's no chance. I sat and watched Seti's entire presentation, young Pharaoh's presentation, and I can say that every single thing that they spoke about, we anticipated it. Like it was almost as if we wrote their presentations. When Seti used the statue of Champollion that was made after Champollion's death and everything like that, I said it. I said Seti's going to use that. He's going to use that to say Champollion, because what it is, it's a statue. If y'all haven't seen it, for those listening, it's a statue of Champollion, made of Champollion, where his foot is on a cut off pharaoh's head. Well, I won't say cut off, but it's a pharaoh's head, and so the foot is on there. So it's very disrespectful, you know. And I said he's going to use that, and bam, he used that. The Dr. Ben little clip that where Dr. Ben says, matter of fact, the clip works against them, because Dr. Ben says you can read it, but what people are speaking is not accurate or whatnot. He makes fun of how people speaking it, and doing all that stuff. But Dr. Ben clearly says that you can read it. Now, you can't read something that's not deciphered. So again, they focus on pronunciation. So it's two separate things. So that clip actually works against them, but they used it anyway. Ashra Kwesi tried to use that. Walter Williams stuff, we said he was going to use that, and he sure enough did. The entire homosexual aspect, we said he was going to use that. The whole, of course, the white man versus the black man is going to be used. He's going to definitely pull the race thing, and he did that. Every single thing we were ready for, everything, So it would have just been very embarrassing to watch that go down, but it would have been needed, and I think that the people got shortchanged and deprived of that, So like I said, we're gonna put something together for the people to go point for point on every single point. He opens up with a reading from a quote from George G.M. James' Stolen Legacy on his presentation, like early in his presentation, and all of that was anticipated. I mean, man, so
yes, listening to the list of anticipated points they were going to bring, it seems like they were pretty much appealing to people's emotion instead of intellect, and which actually, if I don't know if most people don't pay attention to that, but at the end of all the presentation, they didn't explain anything at all to do with the decipherment, but pretty much just appeal to the audience's emotions.
Yep. And that's what Seti's good at. I mean, Seti's good at electrifying the crowd. Nobody can take that from him. But when you, like I said, just like a relationship, when you look at that guy across the room, or you look at that girl across the room, the first thing that you notice is the outward appearance, the shape. Oh, she has a nice shape, or he has nice shoulders, whatever women look into with a guy, whatever the case is. That's all initial stuff. But then when you get down and you get past that, you don't want it to be empty. And this is what Seti kind of reflects. He does an excellent job at attracting people, because matter of fact, a lot of people are in the conscious community because of Sarasu and Seti, because of that initial attraction, because he has that appeal to the streets. But then what? You know what I'm saying? So he does that very well. He should stay doing that very well. But when he crossed over and tried to make claims about the language, something he doesn't study and knows very little about, if anything, then that's where he's gone too far. And we were just going to set an example out of him on that day, just clear. And we still, we can't do it live, like side by side, but we're going to take their presentation and walk through it step by step, both of them. Young Pharaoh saying Greek language is not a spoken language. I mean, man, you got 13 million people on the planet right now speaking Greek. So who's gonna believe that? You know, so it's crazy. But I don't want to be too long. We've gone 2 hours, and so I don't know if there's any comments that anybody's seen that we want to read, or any questions that people have asked in the chat. We will kind of want to round up this hangout and come to a close. Anybody in chat got any questions? You know, I'm gonna treat you all like last night. Like, bring it. You know, like bring the toughest question about, you know, the Egyptian languages, the writing system, what we do, in relation to, you know, the current events or whatnot. I do want to give a shout out. I just saw shout out already, but let me scroll back up. Where'd it go? Yeah, the Dagger Squad, Urban Economic Empowerment. All right. So I think every Wednesday, the brother Garfield and sister Monica, they're on Sonetter's Black News 102 channel, and they give important information, useful information, Wednesdays, I believe, at 6 p.m. So keep your eyes out on that, and encourage people to watch that.
Yeah, that's a good one, because people always ask about a lot about economics and all of that stuff. So I think that's a good one to keep in mind for those interested.
Yeah, and then like Brother Sean said, shout out to One Mind. That's a very good group in Tennessee. They invited, actually they invited and had an event with the elder Kaba, and he gave an excellent presentation about Ma'at. But he gave a presentation on Ma'at and how it's applied, how it could be applied now in terms of what we got going on right now and things. It's really good. And they have other upcoming events that are coming up out there, and they plan to do classes, and they're going to invite us there to give a presentation as well. And then there's a group in South Carolina that we went to in Charleston, South Carolina, and I believe that's the Sankofa family. I don't remember the exact title, but the Sankofa family that's out there. So definitely shout out to them, and they're doing basically kind of same thing that One Mind is doing, but they're in South Carolina. If their home base is in South Carolina. Yep. So we have a lot of. So what can we expect in 2017 though? I guess we could kind of close out on that, and I'll wait for any questions that people might have in the
all right,
chat. No, saying, so what are some of the things we can expect in 2017? I know what I would like to see. I would like to see the social community mature and kind of balance things out between the wanting to be stimulated so much and entertained, and versus the teaching, you know, and learning and absorbing information and stuff. So I would like to see that a little bit more balanced, because right now it's totally off balance and out of whack. As far as the community goes, I like to see people work on their character, so cut down on this back and forth and this stuff. And then, you know, like I was saying earlier, we're being watched. You know, we're being watched by the world. We don't have a stake on the world stage right now. We're looked at as a joke, so to speak, because of how we are with each other. You know, you judge a people by how they treat themselves. You know, and that's just whatever 101. It's like warfare 101, even warfare 101. You know, a house divided is a house that cannot stand, or however that saying goes. I know I'll be butchering up sayings, but you know, people look at that and they take advantage of that. You know, they even exploit that fact. So I hope we mature, because we are definitely being looked at, and we need to emphasize institutions, build institutions, and build something that people can go. And we have to, you know, if we see or want change, we have to become that change. So people got to take risk and go out there. Can't please everybody all the time. And like I said, 2017 for me, I don't care how young you are or how old you are. We have to focus on accuracy of information. So people that are making these claims or teaching anything, everything is fair game, to be addressed, critiqued, or studied, scrutinized, whatever the case is. That's what has to be done. But it has to be done with respect. And this is where character comes into play. Because if you have good character, then you're going to address people and their works with respect and things. So nobody likes to be corrected. So there's going to be, some angry people if you go through something and have to correct this and that. Nobody likes to be corrected, but as long as you respect them, fully respect them, and have good character behind it, then it's only but so much complaining that somebody could do. Also, I could say this for myself in 2017, I will be finished with the grammar book. I'm currently working on a grammar book for older Rodney Kemet, what we call older Rodney Kemet, which is the from old what Egyptologists will say old Egyptian and Middle Egyptian, but older Rodney Kemet, a grammar for that, and I'm looking forward to completing that by March, which will be the anniversary of the first book, actually the second anniversary of the first book of Beginner's Introduction to Medew Netcher. So be on the lookout for that. And then as a Seshew group, we have projects working on. Brother Kofi, hopefully get his book published. Not hopefully, but I'm sure he will publish his book. And then we have projects collectively that we're working on. Yep, Sankofa family, right? Okay, good. But were there any questions? I thought the brother Tony had a question.
Yes, he did have a question. I think he had a question to Zhao, to you. I think he says, I know Antoine went to Kemet with him. I'm assuming he's talking about Seti, but I want to know your opinion. So I don't know if he's discussing Seti and wanted to know your opinion on that. Or is it on somebody else?
I'm not sure.
If you can let us know, Honorable Tony Rice. Oh, okay, yeah. So he means Ashra Kwesi. So he wanted to know about he wanted to know your opinion on that.
Oh, my opinion? Yeah. Oh. On Antoine. Well, I mean, I can only deal with what Antoine filled us in. About. I don't really have an opinion to give other than the fact that any trip to Egypt is a beautiful thing to be able to go and experience that.
I know you and Ashra had a dialogue on that talk show, on a blog talk one evening.
Yeah, and that was about the decipherment, right? And now this is the thing. Okay, now with our elder, with the elder Ashra Kwesi. Okay, now mind you, I said in 2017, young or old, we have to deal with information. And this is something that we said last night. Even with who people are calling master teachers, such as Dr. Ben, John Henry Clark, Chancellor Williams, George G.M. James, etc. Right? And Shekinah Diop. All of these published scholars and elders, if they were still alive, they would update their own works because they understand the principle behind the latest and greatest data. As data comes through, you have to take all of that stuff into account, and it may force you to update your information. And this is how science works, period. All the scientific journals, like the Nature Journal, Scientific America, whatever the case is, even textbooks, they are updated every so often, maybe every 6 months or every year or every 2 years or whatever the case is, but they're updated. So because of these elders, what happens in our community, we get into personality worship, and then we get stuck. It's like we get stuck in a like a camera shot, freeze frame, boom, we're stuck. We're no longer moving. And this is what happens. So people will look at Shekinah Giab, look at Chancellor Williams and their works and just stay stuck. But if these elders were alive, they wouldn't be stuck themselves. So what we need to do, what's on our shoulders and our laps, is we have to take those great works and to make sure that they are always current and always reflect the reality and the data that we have available now, through whether it's new discoveries, new instruments, new technologies that allow us to probe and examine things a little better, et cetera, et cetera. We have to make sure we stay up to date. And so 2017 is going to be a lot of that going on or being discussed. And I say that to come back to the elder Ashraf Kwesi. Now Ashraf Kwesi doesn't claim to be able to read Seshew Netcher as an expert in this and other. He said that himself, but he's able to read the names and what he does when he takes people on tour. He's able to read the glyphs. He does that. You can see videos of him doing that. So what happens is he will say things like on the subject of decipherment. When it comes to the subject of decipherment, Ashraf Kwesi will use the word esoteric. He'll say that nobody could say that it has not been deciphered. And then he'll say something like, nobody could say that it's been fully deciphered. So Ashraf Kwesi will be at both ends. Say, you can't say it hasn't been deciphered, but then at the same time, you can't say it's been fully deciphered. But when you listen to him say all of that, he's talking about the esoteric meanings of the language, which are totally different. So our beloved elder, Ashraf Kwesi, is misusing or misapplying the term decipherment to what he says when he's talking about esoteric information. And by that, all that means is information. First of all, the word esoteric simply means something that's within. And it's a relative term, because esoteric means that out of a whole, only a small portion is privy. That's the essence of what that means. Okay, so every single business has esoteric information. The United States military has a lot of esoteric information. Like I said, every business has esoteric information. If you own, like let's just say Apple, the company Apple, its board members and all that stuff, and its proprietary ways of manufacturing iPhones and all that stuff, that's esoteric information, because only a select group of people have that knowledge. The rest of the public don't. Even the employees. I know people who work at the Apple store who don't even know when the new products are going to come out and whatnot. So they have a hierarchy of how they disseminate information. So a lot of businesses have esoteric information. So esoteric is not something that's spooky and strange or whatever the case is. It simply means that out of many, a select few are privy. That's all it means. So when Ashraf Kwesi is talking about esoteric meanings, he's talking about there are levels of understanding. And the best example to give for more people to understand this concept is with the Bible. Because a lot of people are familiar with the Bible, whether you believe it or not, but people are familiar with it. There's instances where Jesus is known to speak in parables. And his disciples asked him, why do you speak in parables? Like, why do you do that? And then Jesus says, I forgot the exact words, whatever, but in so many words, he's basically saying he speaks in parables because only a few people will be able to get it. And he who has an ear, let him hear, and all this other kind of stuff. So he speaks in parables to, he speaks that way because there's a smaller group of people that will understand the realities behind the parables. And then there's the greater amount of people that will just hear it as parables, and so on and so forth. And of course, I'm definitely paraphrasing, But that's an instance of esoteric situation going on. So what Ashraf Kwesi is talking about is in any initiatory system, hierarchy or whatnot, there is an understanding that's gained by a smaller group of people. And that's it. But it has nothing to do with decipherment, because we can do this in English. Nobody would consider English as being not deciphered. English is a living language, spoken, everything like that. I can communicate esoteric information in English just by simply limiting my information to a select few people. Okay, so that's all esoteric stuff is. So when Ashraf Kwesi says that, that's what he's referring to. So he's saying that Europeans have not really gained knowledge to the cultural nuances and the initiation hierarchy. That's what he's saying. He's not speaking about decipherment of the writing system and the relationship it has with the spoken language that it represents. That's what decipherment is. So we have to respectfully correct the elder Ashraf Kwesi on that point. Not to say he's wrong, because what he's saying is right. It's just that there's a mix-up between terminologies that he's using, and it throws the whole conversation off, because people are going to use what he says, which is what Young Pharaoh and Sawasu said he tried to do in the subject of decipherment. So I say all that to say is that Ashraf Kwesi is not talking about decipherment, even though he uses the word decipherment in his speech when he says all this stuff that I'm saying, but it doesn't apply at all. So things like that, we have to be able to correct our elders, and we have to respect them, and they have to respect us. And this goes to the concept of asking the elders permission to speak, because when you do that, it puts the elder on alert to learn from you, and then you're getting permission from them to actually speak. So it's a two-way street, and this is just how we have to do it. Not everybody's gonna like it, but hey, that's just the way it's gonna be. And like I said, as long as people do it with respect, then that's how it's gonna have to go down. But we have to be able to correct our people. So I mean, I don't know. So, but as far as the opinion about Ashraf Kwesi and stuff like that, I mean, of the trip and everything, I think everybody should go and go through that experience. Brother Saramotep, Brother Ben has been, Antoine has been, and so I've heard some direct, feedback straight from the people who've gone. So, but yeah, so hopefully people understand what I said about that, Ashraf Kwesi. Yep. But we have to, we have to put respect back on the name Kemet, because Kemet is the most glorified ancient civilization. It's the most studied, and it has the most literature out of ancient civilizations, and everybody acknowledges its greatness. But it also, and it's the most commercialized as well, but it's also the most disrespected, because it's what do you call it? It's spread, it's saturated, it's out there. Its guts are all open. People are wearing the symbols for jewelry. Hollywood is capitalizing off of the symbolisms and the culture, things like that. The conscious community, so-called conscious community, is capitalizing off of Kemet. Everybody tries to tie everything into Kemet. You perform yoga, boom, it's Kemetic yoga. You want to deal with crystals, you got Kemetic crystals, granite. I don't even know the names of the various different crystals. It's just everything is kind of linked into Kemet. Even the Moorish, anything with an MR, any Kemetic word, as they say, Kemetic word with an MR is more. Tamaray or Tamari, that means the land of the Moors. Mary means Moors. All those kinds of things. Everybody ties into Kemet. and it's just disrespected, you know. And if you don't believe me, just compare the appearance of Kemet and everything that comes with it versus something like an Ifa practitioner of Yoruba traditions. It's just different. People don't disrespect that. Even the people who don't like it or don't agree with it, they don't go around disrespecting it like that, like with Kemet. You know, Kemet is like too accessible. You know, so we had to work on that. We had to work on putting respect back in it. We had to, you know, take it serious. So that's what we do as far as the language is concerned. You know, so when somebody makes a claim it hasn't been deciphered and all this and that, we, you know, kind of we had to step up. And I think we did with the book. Everybody get that book. You're gonna see. The Seshew Ma'ani Medu Netcher answered the call, hands down. You know. So anybody else got some closing remarks?
Heard Damo dropping a mixtape for the Seshew.
Oh, that'd be good. We need it. We need it. What is missing for us to get a full? Oh, let me read this question. What is missing for us to get a full esoteric meaning from the Medew Netcher? Are we waiting for my evidence to be unearthed? Oh, more evidence to be unearthed.
Are you talking about the pyramid platform that we have set up to get that, to get there?
Yeah, that's a good question though, and yeah, our pyramid, basically we have a curriculum. Matter of fact, we're gonna add that to the website, but we have a hangout where we explain the curriculum, you know, that we have set up. And that's what I mean by, you know, membership. Our membership is, you know, it's not like a, you know, internet click and whatnot. We actually putting work in. But that's a good question. Now, who asked that? Heru Unk, Medew and Ra. The thing is this. Just remember this, and I'll just keep it brief. In terms of writing is very, very young relative to Homo sapiens existing, walking the earth. We kind of touched on it last night a little bit. Homo sapiens start off roughly about 200,000 years ago. I'm rounding up. So writing is attested from about 5,000 years ago. So look at the difference: 5,000 years ago versus 200,000 years ago. So writing is very, very young in relation to the existence of Homo sapiens, humanity now. So I say that because for a long period of time, everything was oral. Everything was speech driven. So with that, think about it now. It's hard for us to think about this, but try your best. Just wrap your mind around it when you can. Just kind of meditate on this. Because we are born in a society that is literate. You know, we're born in a society that has writing. So from our birth, we it's automatic. Like writing is just the next thing. You know, we take it for granted. Like writing is what it is. We born into it. We understand it, everything like that. So it's hard for us to go backwards and think about a society where there's no writing. The whole world, there's no writing. You know, so now think that. Now jump over to the fact that, ask yourself, how is it that people transmitted information from generation to generation? And then to be able to communicate, there's no such thing as a dictionary. So that means that whatever language you're speaking prior to writing, the invention of writing, you have to know the meanings of all of the words of your entire language, because there's no dictionaries to look them up like we do now. Like, you know, when we communicate now, if you go to a lecture and somebody's whipping out big words and stuff, you know, we have the luxury of looking it up, you know, and things like that. But in ancient times, there was no such thing. So So what ancient Africans did, they invented technology. We don't see it as technology, but it's technology that was invented in order to do just what I said, to be able to store data and to transmit it to the next generation, and so on. And this technology, we call it today figurative speech. All the different various ways of figurative expression, from metaphors to analogies, I said metaphors already, allegories, similes, hyperboles, myths, which are narratives and stuff, are created. All these things are created. This was an ancient technology. So now I say that leading up to your question, is about the esoteric. So one of the reasons for the initiation houses or initiatory environments in African cultures was to transmit this data that I'm saying. It was to package up the figurative expression with the realities that they stand for. So like we know symbolisms, a symbol is a stand-in or a representation of something. It is not the something itself, it is a representation of it. So if you remove the reality behind the symbol and you only work with the symbol and you pass the symbol on without the reality attached to it, then you end up losing what the symbol stands for and you can only roll with the symbol. And so what these initiation houses were set up to do was to maintain that relationship between the figurative expression, which was the technology, and the realities. So to direct, answer your question now, what we have to do is that we have to, see through the symbolism, see through the allegory, see through the metaphors and things, and get to realities behind it and things. So you asked, what is missing for us to get a full esoteric meaning? First of all, step one is to learn the language, because we have to learn the language to even get the backdrop to understand the cultural nuances, to tap into the realities behind the figurative speech. Because, like, for example, we understand and know English. Like, everybody on the chat is typing in English. And I'm sure if y'all could talk, we would be talking in English. But yet we can fully understand English. But we can utilize English to create figurative expressions. So in order to understand the figurative expressions, you have to first learn English. Then you have to know how the English was manipulated to create this figurative expression. So the first step is to learn the language, learn the ins and outs of the language itself first. Then you can start piercing the how the language was utilized to create these figurative expressions. So, for example, I'll give you a quick example, a small minor example. The phrase "awud ib," I use this a lot. The phrase "awud ib," taken literally, that word means a stretched heart. That's what it means. It means the heart is stretched. That's literally. So when you learn a language, okay, I know awud means to stretch out, to elongate something, and ib is the heart. Okay, or mind. It's a word for the mind as well. It depends on, because we got a lot of homographs and homophones in the language. So it's either a stretched out heart or a stretched out mind. So that's literally. But now once you get into the culture and the nuances of everything and stuff like that, you'll realize that that's simply a phrase that means happy, happiness, joy, joyfulness. It means, an expanded heart or an expanded mind. A stretched out mind. It's a metaphor for saying happy. That's just a small minor example, but I'm saying that, so first you have to learn the language, then you have to know how it's manipulated. All right, so hopefully that answered the questions. I don't want to be too long on that. So we had 3 hours. So anybody got any closing, anything else to close with? No? All right. All right, so I'll pass it over to Emikadaku Kinshai to close us out,
All right, Dua. So yeah, that was good. And for those who are watching, Dua, and for participating, Dua, for the questions, and Dua for pretty much hanging out in there with us the whole year and then supporting us. And please do remember to share the videos. And if you haven't gotten the book, get the book. I know most people think it's discussing just the decipherment, but it's the beginning part actually goes through explaining writing systems and all of those nomenclatures that are pretty important when dealing with the language and the script. So I think it's my personal view is that it's a good stepping stone for those who haven't decided whether they want to learn the language or not. That's a good book to kind of like get weigh in and see what it is you're getting into. So please do get the book, and if you haven't joined our group, Facebook group, you can do that. That's also Seshew Netcher on Facebook. If you haven't, if you're interested in joining the classes, you can check out the webpage at medunetcher.com, which is mdw-ntr.com. So and then you can go through all of that. We have memberships as well, so you can check that and the courses that we have, the interactive and whatnot, and get the book, also the beginner's book, if you're interested in learning the language and being part of participating in the ongoing discussions and all that. And I don't know if I'm forgetting something else, but yes, just join the Facebook group page and share the videos, get the book, and yeah, so then we'll see you probably this Friday on our Freestyle Fridays. So with that, I'd like to say get an affair and or back on affair and Shema Motep.